Chapter 12-14. Dong Huang Qingrou's gaze froze. She didn't say anything. However, looking at Dong Huang Qingrou's current appearance, Yihua already knew that they were really from the 9 provinces and 5 seas, which meant that they were together with Meng Yao. I wonder if Qing Su and Wei Chang are in this place. It would be best if they are in the 9 regions and the 5 seas. When the time comes, I'll deal with all of them at once so that I won't have to run around. Speak, what do you all want? Yihua asked faintly. Dong Huang Qingrou smiled calmly and said, Don't you know why I'm here? A few days ago, the Dong Huang Mausoleum and the Dong Huang clan came down, but they haven't returned yet. They must be dead by now. Yihua laughed lightly. Your feeling is correct. They have already gone to hell to have fun. You. How dare you? How dare you kill the people of the Eastern royal family? Dong Huang Qingrou's eyes focused and immediately released a terrifying aura. This aura was much stronger than that of the East Emperor Mausoleum. At least, that was what Yi Yuanqing felt. Dong Huang Qingrou suddenly looked towards Dong Huang Baiji, who was behind Yihua. Dong Huang Qingrou slowly retracted her aura and her brows slightly wrinkled. You are? Dong Huang Qingrou could sense a very pure bloodline from Dong Huang Baiji's body. Only those with the Eastern Emperor bloodline were qualified to possess such a pure bloodline. People like Eastern Emperor Mausoleum and the others could only be considered as a side branch of the Eastern Emperor clan. Yihua did not make a sound. Seems like this person seems to have discovered something. That would be for the best. Seeing that Yihua did not say anything, Dong Huang Baiji said, My name is Dong Huang Baiji. Your surname is Dong Huang? Dong Huang Qingrou was even more confused. The Eastern Emperor family didn't seem to have any orphans in the outside world. Now, a woman with a very pure bloodline actually appeared in the Eastern Emperor family. This was a little unclear. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, I have already said it earlier. Who is your father? Dong Huang Qingrou asked curiously. Dong Huang Pu. Dong Huang Pu? There was no such person in the orthodox lineage, so how could this woman have such a pure bloodline? Dong Huang Qingrou didn't beat around the bush and asked in a deep voice, Why do you have such a pure bloodline? Along with what Dong Huang Qingrou said, Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji knew that there might really be a connection between the two of them. Dong Huang Baiji also wanted to know the reason, thus she said in a low voice, I don't know. Looks like you'll have to make a trip with me. Dong Huang Qingrou said faintly. This was related to the problem of losing her bloodline. She couldn't afford to be careless. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. This set of actions was as smooth as flowing water. That slightly tilted cigarette was like a boss, not putting anyone in his eyes. If Yihua had to say, what posture was the most handsome and pretentious? Yihua said that he was not snapping his fingers, but lighting a cigarette. Especially when he took the first sip, his slightly narrowed eyes revealed a cold killing intent. I think that you are mistaken about one thing. This woman is one of my people, and it doesn't seem to be appropriate for you to bring her away just like that, right? Yihua said faintly. I can't appear too radical, right? I can't appear to be too eager, right? Dong Huang Qingrou was completely unable to sense Yihua's aura, and she thought that Yihua was just an ordinary person. After all, in a place like this, it wasn't strange for there to be ordinary people. Humph. Do I need your permission to take someone away? Just how noble is my Eastern Emperor clan? Are you even worthy to be together with someone with such a pure bloodline? Everyone who was present took in a breath of cold air. It was hard for them to digest what they heard just now. All in all, this Eastern Emperor clan is a very powerful person. Even the Emperor is just a small soldier over there. Just look at what this person said just now. Furthermore, I didn't expect that Prince Ye's woman is actually a member of the Eastern Emperor clan as well. Listening to this person's tone, her bloodline is rather pure. If that's the case, it would be incredible. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes, then pulled Dong Huang Baiji into his embrace and kissed her. This was Yihua's usual method of acting cool. Using a woman to act cool, although it was a bit low. A woman like Dong Huang Baiji was indeed able to give him face. Furthermore, these people even raised Dong Huang Baiji's identity, making the feeling even more different. Dong Huang Baiji still doesn't know who Yihua is, showing off his own wife. I'm really impressed. But who asked me to be so good-looking? It is normal for me to show off a bit in front of my husband. Thus, the current scene was Donghuang Baiji hugging onto Yihua's neck, and the two were currently kissing passionately. When Yi Yuanqing saw his big brother and sister-in-law, his face turned red. Big brother and sister-in-law are really shameless. There are so many people looking at them, and they actually started kissing. However, Donghuang Qingru, who was in the sky, had a gloomy expression. This man is actually profaning such a pure bloodline. This is simply intolerable. Donghuang Qingru could be seen stretching out her finger, and a golden light instantly condensed on her fingertip, which then instantly attacked towards the back of Yihua's head. Donghuang Baiji sensed the golden light, and she opened her beautiful eyes and looked towards Donghuang Qingru. When the latter was looked at by Donghuang Baiji, her entire body seemed to have stiffened. A huge three-headed golden crow could be seen condensing behind Donghuang Baiji. This scene gave everyone a fright, and even Donghuang Qingru was stupefied. Roar! The three-headed golden crow let out a furious roar, and the golden light instantly turned into thin air. However, Donghuang Qingru and the others were all forced to retreat for over 10 steps, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of their mouths. The void in the sky gradually disappeared, but everyone had yet to regain their senses. This was the first time Yi Yuanqing saw his sister-in-law like this. Yi Yuanqing's face was filled with astonishment. So sister-in-law is actually this powerful. I truly didn't expect this. That three-headed golden crow just now was so terrifying. It seemed as if it was able to tear the world apart. Yihua let go of Donghuang Baiji's red lips and said in a low voice, "We agreed that we would each take half of the loot. Then, I will start first." Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly, then kissed Yihua once again, indicating to him to calm down and to give in to his wife. Yihua dotingly pinched onto Donghuang Baiji's cheek, then looked towards the people who were not far away. I feel that they seem to have been scared silly. How can this be? I have not even started yet. You all have already been scared silly by my wife. This isn't good, right? Donghuang Qingru was indeed scared silly to the point that she peed her pants. That huge void just now. Three-headed golden crow. This is the symbol of the family head. This woman. How can this be? Could it be that she activated her bloodline? That's impossible. Other than the family head, how can there be someone else who is able to activate her bloodline? Furthermore, that three-headed golden crow just now seemed to be even more terrifying. Just what is the background of this woman? However, right now, there is only one thing that I need to do. Donghuang Qingru could be seen kneeling down on one knee. When everyone behind her saw this scene, they all kneeled down as well. When everyone saw that those people actually kneeled down, they all had astonished expressions on their faces. Why did they kneel down? Could it be that they are admitting defeat? Are they admitting defeat before the battle even started? Right now, Yihua was very unhappy. Donghuang Baiji had snatched away all of the limelight, and there is completely no room for me to display my skills. End of this chapter. Chapter 12-15. These people were simply too cowardly and boring. Weren't they very arrogant when they first arrived? Donghuang Qingru wanted to shout, but she didn't know what to shout. This was a sign that only a clan master should have. Could it be that she had to call this woman clan master? That's obviously not the case. What should I do? How should I solve this problem? Donghuang Qingru really wanted to pretend that she did not see it. Yihua asked faintly, "What do you mean by this? Why are you kneeling down?" Donghuang Qingru really wanted to correct him. "This is not kneeling, okay? This is a form of etiquette. Are you blind?" Donghuang Qingru didn't want to bother with Yihua and said towards Donghuang Baiji, "Young lady, please come back with us to verify what you said." "Prove what?" Yihua asked curiously. Donghuang Qingru glared at Yihua angrily. "I'm talking to her, don't interrupt." "Little friend, you are really rude." Yihua waved his hand at the air. Pa. This sound was a little loud, but it didn't send Donghuang Qingru flying. However, Donghuang Qingru's face tilted. Everyone was shocked, especially those who were standing behind Donghuang Qingru. How could this be possible? The head guard of the vestibule was slapped in the face, and he didn't even have time to react. Who was this man? Donghuang Qingru was astonished. She was actually beaten up. How many years has it been? This was the first time he had been slapped in the face. How dare you hit me? Do you know what will happen to you? Pa. Yihua said faintly. And? I only know how to end others. The officials sighed in their hearts. As expected of Prince Yi, he really didn't give them any face at all. He even slapped the Donghuang clan's face when he wanted to. Then who wouldn't dare to fight? This was too terrifying. Fortunately, he was standing on Lord Ye's side. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Initially, Yihua was planning to pretend to be a captive. However, after thinking about it, he felt that this wasn't appropriate. From what Baiji had shown just now, she must have definitely let him know something. If not, how could she possibly keep on saying that she has a pure bloodline? If he was the boss of that side and suddenly heard that someone else had a pure bloodline, he would probably be anxious. Thinking about it this way, it seemed that there was something fishy going on. For example, two pure-blooded people were fighting for the position of the family head. Then one of them cheated and exiled the other. There shouldn't be anything wrong with my deduction. This should be the case. I'll let him bring back the news first, and then I'll go over myself. Are you panicking or not? Dong Huangqing grew. Dong Huangqing's face was Dong Huangqing's face was slapped swollen. She looked so embarrassed that she wished she could disappear. But facing such a situation, Dong Huangqing knew that she was no match for them. If she were to force herself, she would definitely die. Since these two people said they would come, then it couldn't be any better. I said, you will regret this. The gigolo that stands behind a woman. After she finished speaking, Dong Huangqing disappeared along with her subordinates. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched slightly. Just now, with which eye of yours did you see me standing behind a woman? It was simply making something out of nothing. I will remember these words, and I will return them to you when the time comes. I said. Hua. How? Yihua was also aware of this. Just now he had only slapped them twice, and when the time comes he would slowly deal with these people. The ceremony continued. After that, Yihua gave a speech. Although he said it tactfully, what he meant was that if my little sister dares to mess around, I can only send her off in despair. Anyway, it was all kinds of tactful threats. Anyone who was smart would understand. After all, who would dare to mess around? They would respectfully call him Lord Yi. After the ceremony ended, Yihua prepared to bring Donghuang Baiji to 9 provinces and 5 seas. But before leaving, Yihua asked his little sister to bring him to Qingsu's teleportation coordinates. When he saw the coordinates, Yihua knew that it was the coordinates to 9 provinces and 5 seas. Qingsu was an ordinary person, and he couldn't fulfill the teleportation conditions. Dofusher could only teleport to God's realm. If one wanted to go to 9 provinces and 5 seas, one had to rely on this teleportation location. But for someone like Yihua, there was no need to use this teleportation. Meng Yao had the strength to come and go as she pleased. After knowing Qingsu's location, Yihua had an idea. I'm going to wake Qingsu up. If Wei Chong was in this plane, that would be perfect. They could get rid of him together. After returning to the palace, Yi Yuanqing suddenly asked, Big brother, do you want to go and see father? He has nothing to do with me. Yihua said faintly. I, the supreme overlord, had just met Yihua, and I had already beaten up Yihua. This could be considered as helping my mother vent out her anger. If it wasn't for giving my mother face, I would have directly killed Yihua. Yi Yuanqing knew that the relationship between his big brother and father wasn't good, so he didn't continue to persuade his big brother. In actuality, he didn't understand why his father was so against his big brother. In actuality, his father is still quite good. Although he always scolds his big brother, at the crucial moment he still stood up for him. If not for his father, I might. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, didn't dare to say anything. There were some things that she could persuade Yihua, but there were some things that would make Yihua, who has a bad temper, unhappy. Yi Yuanqing pursed her lips. Big brother, are you going to go now? That's right, that Qingsu is in 9 provinces and 5 seas. I have to go and find him. That's right, let your subordinates guard the palace. I am afraid that those people will come back again. Keep this bamboo flute. If you are in trouble, just blow it. Yihua passed a bamboo flute to Yi Yuanqing. Yi Yuanqing took the bamboo flute and asked curiously, "Big brother, is there a surprise?" "Idiot, this is to ask Big brother's subordinates to help. Big brother has something to do over there, so he can't come." "Yes, big brother, I understand. You and sister-in-law should be careful." Yi Yuanqing was still a little worried. Wouldn't it be a little dangerous if only big brother and sister-in-law went? Big brother's subordinates were so powerful. Why didn't he bring them? In the past, Yihua had always been asking his subordinates to do things for him. And right now he felt that he was about to become rusty. It was important for him to go out and exercise his muscles and bones. Big brother understands. Just be a good emperor. You are big brother's pride. After saying that, Yihua opened up his arms. Yi Yuanqing lightly hugged Yihua. This was a hug between siblings. There was no other meaning to it. Donghuang Baiji stood at the side and did not say anything. She knew that Yihua only treated Yi Yuanqing as his younger sister. Seeing her big brother and sister-in-law disappear in front of her, Yi Yuanqing's face gradually tensed up. At this moment, Yi Yuanqing was the queen. She had changed from the little girl just now. But in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, Donghuang Qingru returned to her clan with unwillingness. The Eastern royal clan was situated on a rainbow. End of chapter. Chapter 12:16. This wasn't an ordinary rainbow. This was a rainbow that was stacked on top of each other, layer after layer. Every layer was a different color. However, the color at the very top was orange. Furthermore, every layer was very huge. If someone wanted to attack the Donghuang family, they would have to attack from the first layer up. Every layer was guarded by people, and other than people, there were also beasts. However, the Donghuang family had never been attacked for tens of thousands of years. This was the only time the Donghuang family was exterminated before they even saw the first layer. Donghuang Qingru was the head guard of the first layer, and right now he was reporting his mission. As the manager of the first layer, Donghuang Fei was drinking his tea indifferently, as if he didn't care about the matter at all. And he even revealed a smile on his face. "Floor leader, subordinates' words are all true," Donghuang Qingru said gravely, feeling that Donghuang Fei didn't believe his words. Donghuang Fei laughed. "Qingru, stop messing around. What 3-headed golden crow? It is a serious crime to say it out. It is impossible for the Donghuang bloodline to be outside. If it is, it would be a humiliation to the entire Donghuang family." Speaking till the end, Donghuang Fei's face became taut, warning Donghuang Qingru not to speak recklessly. Donghuang Qingru didn't seem to realize the seriousness of the matter, but now that he heard it, it does make sense. "Then, floor leader, what should we do?" "Just treat it as if nothing happened. Don't look into it anymore. Even if something happens, we won't blame it on you. And of course, we won't implicate me as well. Don't tell anyone about this matter, and those people that you brought along, if necessary." Donghuang Fei made a gesture of cutting his throat, scaring Donghuang Qingru. "Floor leader, if this matter is looked into, the ones who will lose their heads will be you and me." Subordinate, understood. "You can leave now." "Yes." Looking at Donghuang Qingru's back view, Donghuang Fei tightly wrinkled his brows. "Seems like it's true. As a floor manager, I naturally know some insider information. That was something that happened a long time ago." Donghuang Fei didn't dare to continue thinking about it. This matter belongs to the family's top secret. If it's really like what Donghuang Qingru said, then I'm afraid. I can only hope that that person can't be found. Yihua and Donghuang Baiji were both pointing their swords at this place. This kind of high-level plane teleportation, Yihua wasn't able to accurately grasp it, and it was considered to be random. Where to go would depend on the will of the heavens. For example, right now Yihua and Donghuang Baiji appeared in the same room. The furnishings of this room were quite romantic. They were all bright red, and there were even portraits of women hanging on the walls. They were incomparably seductive and coquettish. However, human reproduction was going on the bed. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then immediately closed her eyes and turned around. Meanwhile, Yihua laughed lightly. This man is useless. Look at that woman, she is just pretending. Perhaps the two people on the bed were too engrossed and did not notice their arrival at all. Yihua felt that this should be a brothel. He actually teleported to a place like this. That was quite interesting. Pulling onto Dong Huang Baiji's hand, Yihua walked out of the room. That woman is simply too dazzling. There's someone here? No. I heard the door just now. It doesn't exist. Don't move. After walking out of the brothel, Yihua hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji and observed the brothel. It feels extraordinary. This brothel was cylindrical in shape. Looking down, it was very tall. The height of the brothel was at least tens of floors, and it looked just like those large-scale shopping malls. Furthermore, it was packed with people, and the air was filled with a romantic atmosphere. Yihua felt that there was some kind of aphrodisiac in the air. Look at those men. Their faces are all red. The boss of this brothel sure knows how to do business. Furthermore, this kind of building doesn't even exist in the God's realm. Yihua became a bit interested in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Bringing your wife to a brothel? Interesting, right? Yihua couldn't help but tease. You are definitely doing this on purpose. Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly. Yihua shook his head and did not explain anything. If I say that I can't control it, Baiji will laugh at me. Walking down the stairs, Yihua discovered that how long are we going to walk? Brother, there is a formation at the side. How are you going to walk down the stairs? A man hugged onto a flirtatious woman and said. Originally, he didn't want to remind Dong Huang Baiji, but after seeing how beautiful Dong Huang Baiji was, he decided to give her some face. Yihua said faintly, Of course I know, I am just bored. After finished speaking, Yihua pulled Dong Huang Baiji and walked down the stairs. Dong Huang Baiji covered her mouth and laughed lightly. You are embarrassed, aren't you? Yihua felt very awkward. So there is a formation that leads to the first floor. I know about it. And you know about it, I understand. Dong Huang Baiji covered her mouth and laughed lightly. However, since her husband wanted face, as his wife, she naturally had to give him face. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji were on the first floor, and both of them took a formation to walk down the stairs. The speed of the formation was even faster than an elevator, and it was practically within seconds. Yihua felt that this method was pretty good, and it seemed like he was going to have a chance. The first floor of the hall had a different style. The entire hall was circular in shape, and it was much bigger than the hall upstairs. There was a stage at the center, and a few women were currently performing flute skills. The sound was rather pleasant to the ears, and those who didn't know might have thought that this was a formal hall. Below the hall, there were tens of tables, and most of the tables were occupied by a man and a woman. However, at the periphery of the hall, there were those private room-style tables, which seemed to be a bit more hidden. Yihua raised his head and took a look. From the center of the hall, he could see the sky outside. This kind of building sure is interesting. What should I do if it rains? Wouldn't it crush someone to death? Let's go. What are you looking at? You men love this kind of place. Dong Huang Baiji urged from the side. Yihua hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji's slender waist. Baiji, it wasn't easy for us to come to such a brothel. If we don't admire it, how can we do it? Baiji, don't you think so? Men. To experience the atmosphere of a foreign country, we can just treat it as coming here for a vacation. Yihua patted onto Dong Huang Baiji's butt, making him look like a man who was drinking wine. Dong Huang Baiji chuckled. I don't believe you. Dear customer, what are you doing? An old man who wore a red gown could be seen walking over and asking. Yihua said faintly, I brought my own lady. The old man took a look at Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji is a head taller than me, and her temperament is so good. Lady, are you interested in working here? Yihua went into a daze for a moment. Dong Huang Baiji was immediately stupefied. Ha ha ha. Yihua let out a hearty laugh. Yesterday, I was tortured by Baiji. Although this old man offended me, I can still spare your life. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes. This bastard is actually laughing. Who asked you to laugh? I only sell my skills, not my body. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly. End of chapter. Chapter 12-17. Yihua's smile froze as he looked towards Dong Huang Baiji. What are you trying to do? No problem. As long as the lady knows how to play a musical instrument, it will be fine. Hearing that, the abasang was very happy. This lady's appearance is really speechless. She is simply able to stun everyone. Baiji, you are trying to cause trouble again. Yihua hugged onto Donghuang Baiji and said gravely. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. You were the one who laughed at me first. Am I laughing at you? Hurry up and admit your mistake. No, you were the one who bullied me first. You should admit your mistake first. Baiji, I realize that you are a bit arrogant these few days. Ba ba ba. Yihua said gravely. Fine, if you dare to go, I will call Miss. I won't go, alright old master. Donghuang Baiji gave in. To actually use such a method to threaten me. Can you be reasonable? Patting the empress's butt, Yihua looked at the abasang and said faintly. You can leave now. Young master, this isn't good, right? How can you obstruct this lady's great future? The abasang advised. In the future, this lady will definitely be a top performer. Yihua asked faintly. What great future? What kind of future can she have by singing here? Young master, you are gravely mistaken. Where is this? Dingzhou's Qinggu country. The biggest country, countless rich and powerful families live in Qinggu country. With how outstanding this lady is, she will definitely attract the attention of many feudal lords. Think about that scene, it will definitely be unprecedented. As he spoke, even the abasang himself became excited. Yihua finally found out that this is one of the 9 provinces, Dingzhou, and it is also the biggest country. Could it be that there is such a building? This is really interesting. He is my husband. Donghuang Baiji said faintly. Not playing anymore. Time to reveal my identity. The abasang was startled. This is the first time I saw a husband bringing his wife to a brothel. I am simply speechless. Perhaps the two of them had a heavy taste. The abasang spat a few words and turned around to leave. Yihua said in a low voice. If you dare to cause trouble again, you are done for. Humph, if you are willing to hit me, then go ahead and hit me. Donghuang Baiji said as she casually found a seat and sat down. Yihua laughed. Seems like I have doted on her too much recently, to the point where it has become a problem. Yihua walked to the side of Donghuang Baiji and sat down. Yihua called out to Donghuang Baiji and Donghuang Baiji. And of course, Yihua also drank some wine. I wonder what kind of place this Ding province is, and where is that Donghuang clan? Yihua said faintly. Donghuang Baiji was pouring wine by the side. Donghuang Baiji was very obedient. When it was time to be mischievous, she would be mischievous, and when it was time to be sensible, she would be sensible. Should we find someone to ask? Donghuang Baiji suggested. Then it would be meaningless. It's like buying a cheat code in a game. It's fun at first, but it becomes meaningless later on. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. If that's the case, then that's not right. You're the only reasonable one. You have the most crooked reasoning. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. Yihua laughed bitterly. They are talking about the things that happened back then again. Suddenly, the hall turned dark. Yihua felt that this was a type of spell, and not true darkness. Interesting, using magic to replace technology. A ray of light shone onto the stage in the center, and a woman who was wearing a white veil could be seen sitting leisurely on the stage. The woman was hugging onto a pipa. Following the appearance of the woman, the men in the hall started shouting. Yihua sized up the woman. Although he couldn't see her face clearly, he could feel from that arrogant body that the woman had. That woman's face was definitely not ordinary. What, have you taken a fancy to someone else? Donghuang Baiji said in jealousy. The number of women that Yihua sized up was quite few. And yet, right now, the woman was actually sizing up someone else right in front of me. Yihua said indifferently. I have indeed taken a fancy to someone else. Tisk, Donghuang Baiji was speechless. He's teasing me again. Beautiful sounds started ringing out, and everyone in the hall seemed to be immersed in the music. Yihua couldn't help but sigh. This woman's craftsmanship is pretty good. The more Donghuang Baiji looked at the woman, the worse she felt. This scoundrel couldn't have really taken a fancy to someone else, right? Your eyeballs are going to pop out. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but remind Yihua. Your wife is walking at the side. Can't you give me some face? Yihua ignored her, causing Donghuang Baiji to feel very jealous. After the song ended, the woman stood up and slightly bowed her body, expressing her gratitude. The men below seemed to have gone mad, and the screams were rather intense. There were even people above who were shouting. From the looks of it, this woman's background isn't ordinary. Wan Wan. Wan Wan. Wan Wan. The woman called Wan Wan nodded her head, but she didn't leave in a hurry. On the other hand, the woman called Wan Wan walked onto the stage. Sirs, today is our Wan Wan's wedding day. I wonder which lucky man will be able to obtain our Wan Wan's favor. No wonder there are so many people here today. So it turns out that they are all here to try their luck. Today's wedding day is a day to choose a man, and whoever is chosen will be chosen. This is simply like hitting the jackpot 5 million. The men below the stage all went mad. Wan Wan, my family is rich. I guarantee that you won't have to worry about food and drinks in the future. Wan Wan, follow me. My father is the head of the guards. Wan Wan, my father is a minister. All kinds of people instantly started competing with each other, and it seemed as if they were pimping for their father. However, this kind of thing, it was up to Wan Wan herself to decide. Right at this moment, Yihua asked curiously, Baiji, do you think that she will choose me? Even if she chooses you, I won't accept her. Why? Isn't this a free gift? Yihua teased. If you dare to accept her, I will. I will. Donghuang Baiji bit onto her lips, looking like she was going to cry. Why aren't you coaxing her? What are you going to do? I won't talk to you anymore. Haha. Yihua laughed at Donghuang Baiji. After holding back for so long, she actually said such a sentence. She is still the same as before. I don't even know what she is going to threaten me with. Yihua turned his head and looked towards Wan Wan, very curious about who she will choose. Wan Wan looked at her surroundings, appearing to be very shy. However, she still appeared to be very serious. The woman who was at the side said softly, Wan Wan, you mustn't choose those young masters. They will be very miserable in the future. And Wan Wan understands. Suddenly, Wan Wan saw a man at the corner of the stage. The man had a head full of long hair, wore a black robe, and looked very cold. There was a woman sitting beside the man, and the woman was very, very beautiful. Among so many people, only this man was able to enter her eyes. I have a candidate in mind, Wan Wan said softly. Everyone present cried out in surprise. She has a candidate in mind so quickly? Just who is it? Wan Wan lowered her head shyly, just like a little girl who had just met her lover for the first time. Everyone was very nervous, hoping that this good fortune would descend upon them. That way they would feel very comfortable. However, a white light flashed past. The white light shone onto Yihua's body. End of this chapter. Chapter 12:18. Donghuang Baiji was stunned. How is this possible? This damnable appearance of Yihua. He really can't hide it even if he wants to, and he's giving me trouble everywhere. How could a beauty chase after him just by sitting here and drinking? Bastard, he must have done it on purpose. He just wanted to sit here and wait for a romantic encounter. Yihua revealed a light smile, and raised his cup to indicate that he didn't have any intention of objecting. This caused Donghuang Baiji to become even angrier. Yihua, this bastard. To actually propose a toast to me, he is simply a pervert. He didn't even reject a beauty throwing herself at him. What a bastard. Everyone's gaze looked towards Yihua, and they discovered that Yihua was a handsome guy. I can't take it anymore. Why is Wan Wan stroking him so lightly? What's so good about such a good-looking guy? This was a pretty boy. Looking at the woman next to him, it was obvious that she had already taken care of him. Abasang realized it was that man again. He didn't say anything and said with a smile, Sir, you're very lucky to have been chosen by our Wan Wan. You have to treat our Wan Wan well in the future. There was a hidden meaning in the old man's words, especially when he said to love her. He was speechless. It was very ambiguous. Yihua, just what are you trying to do? Donghuang Baiji said gravely. Baiji, calm down. This Wan Wan is a local after all. We can interrogate her properly, right? Do you really think I'm so hungry that I can't be choosy? Yihua said faintly. We have been husband and wife for so many years. Do you still not know my personality? If it's a woman, then I will go on you. In that case, my harem should already be in the 5 digits. I think you are. Is Daji beautiful or not? Didn't I not touch her at all? Seriously, you don't trust me at all. Yihua lectured. Can't you at least have some trust in me? Donghuang Baiji pursed her lips and did not say anything. When it came to Daji, Yihua was still very well behaved and did not touch her. But who knew on that day, Daji's bestial nature suddenly burst out, and she couldn't wait to be bullied by Yihua. Seeing that Wan went down to change her clothes, Donghuang Baiji said, "Let's go." Baiji, aren't you messing around? If we leave, the other girls will lose face. I don't have any face. This jealousy of yours is making me dizzy. Yihua smiled bitterly as he shook his head. This empress is really. Are you leaving or not? If not, I'm leaving. Yihua had no choice but to hug Wan. After that, he waited for Wan. Donghuang Baiji struggled with all her might, but Yihua couldn't care less. Let me go. Baiji, don't force me to spank you. You. Shameless. Did you just get to know me today? Yihua said with a smile. Seeing that the empress was angry, it felt rather good. Not long after, Wan changed into a plain robe and walked over leisurely, making everyone present jealous. Was it fine as long as they were good-looking? Sure enough, this was a society that valued appearances. At this time, Wan was still wearing a veil, and walked over accompanied by Obasan. Yihua let go of Donghuang Baiji. Donghuang Baiji, who was standing at the side, was feeling very jealous. Donghuang Baiji decided to ignore Yihua for the entire day. He had just arrived, yet he had already attracted a peach blossom. Young master, you're so lucky. Wan is our top girl here. Obasan said ambiguously. Wan lowered her head and didn't say anything. She was very shy. Donghuang Baiji snorted. As long as this woman acts like this, men will definitely be distracted. Scumbag Yi. Yihua looked at Wan who was in front of him and revealed out a smile. I'm just lucky. Donghuang Baiji actually saw Yihua smiling, and she was so frightened that she nearly exploded from anger. This fellow always has a stern face, and yet he actually smiled at me. Donghuang Baiji cannot accept this. Then young master, please take off Wan's veil. Yihua laughed lightly, then lifted Wan's veil with both of his hands. Donghuang Baiji was having a hard time enduring. This is simply like lifting off a veil. To actually lift off someone else's veil in front of his wife. Yihua was a bit surprised. This Wan's looks are indeed not bad. Although she can't be compared to the empress, she is still a rare beauty. Young master. Wan said in a low voice, looking incomparably bashful. Yihua patted onto Wan's head. Let's go. All right, young master. Everyone looked at Yihua and Wan leave, and they still hadn't come back to their senses. That frivolous action just now, it's as if he's treating a slave. This hateful poser. He deserves to die a horrible death. After walking out of the brothel, Yihua saw a different city. This city was actually quite similar to Wushu Empire. The only difference was the tall buildings. These tall buildings that were built using wood really had a different style to them. For example, the brothel behind Yihua could be considered as one of the best. The streets were still normal, and the population was also quite large. The housing prices here are definitely not cheap, right? Yihua held on to Donghuang Baiji's hand. This jealous woman is very unhappy right now. Wan, this is your real name? Yihua asked curiously. Wan who was walking beside Yihua said in a low voice, Young master, this is my real name. Oh, what about me? I came from a small place. Can you tell me about this Ding province? Of course, young master. Wan paused for a moment, then continued. Young master, within the 9 provinces and 5 seas, Ding province is considered to be below average. Because the tectonic plate is like a huge cauldron. That's why it was named Ding province. And this Qingwu country is the biggest country in Ding province, and all of the sects in Qingwu country are under their jurisdiction. Yihua nodded his head. So this is how the sects are governed by the state. Which province is the most powerful? Young master, the most powerful is Weihai. Wan said in a low voice. Yihua was very curious. Why is the sea the most powerful? Because there are some very powerful people living on top of Weihai, and their surname is Donghuang. Yihua held on to Donghuang Baiji's hand. Look, didn't I find them? That Donghuang family is hiding on top of Weihai. Wanwan, how did you know all these? Yihua asked curiously. Wanwan's face was red as she said in a low voice, Young master, I only heard it from others. I don't know if it is true or not. Yihua nodded his head. Let's go and find an inn first. The weather here is really not good. It's a bit hot. In the blue sky, there were 2 suns hanging on the sky. What are you trying to do? You even brought people to get a room. Donghuang Baiji said angrily. What's the matter with that? Donghuang Baiji really wanted to just toss this matter aside and go home. Furthermore, we are here for a vacation. Am I going to anger my wife to death before even starting? When Wanwan, who was at the side, heard that they were going to get a room, she became very shy. Luckily, gold seems to be useful everywhere, and I successfully got a luxurious suite. Money really can do anything you want. Money is really a good thing. Wanwan, go and pour a cup of tea. Yihua shouted out. All right, young master. Wanwan went out of the room to fetch water, and right at this moment, Donghuang Baiji asked in a low voice, Yihua, just what are you trying to do? Nothing much. I just want to ask about the situation. You don't have to be so nervous, all right? End of this chapter. Chapter 12:19. How can I not be nervous? Who knows what you are going to do? Donghuang Baiji said angrily. Looking at Wanwan entering the house, Donghuang Baiji remained calm. Wanwan poured 2 cups of tea and placed it on the table, then walked to Yihua's back and asked shyly, Gongzi, do you need Wanwan to give you a massage? Of course, let's see how good Wanwan's cooking is. Don't worry, young master. Wanwan's cooking is very good. Yihua smiled. While holding on to the teacup with his right hand, he didn't drink from it. Donghuang Baiji was so angry that she didn't even have the mood to drink tea. Wanwan, how old are you since you started working in that kind of place? Yihua asked curiously. Wanwan was stunned and said with disappointment, Does young master dislike Wanwan working in that kind of place? A little. Wanwan, you still haven't answered my question just now. Yihua said lightly. Gongzi, when I was 8 years old, I was sold to a brothel. Yihua let out a deep sigh. What a miserable story. Baiji, what do you think? Donghuang Baiji snorted. Young master, this is not a story. That's right, if this is really a story, then it would be a bit too old-fashioned. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Wanwan, why did you choose me? Yihua asked again. Hearing that, Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then became vigilant. Young master, do you believe in fate? Of course I believe in fate. Then it must definitely be fate that brought us together. Wanwan smiled tenderly, and her slender fingers placed onto Yihua's body and lightly rubbed onto his body. This made Donghuang Baiji very unhappy. Yihua smiled and said, Wanwan, your relationship with that plump woman is very good, right? Yes, she is very nice to me. Wanwan, after massaging for so long, you should be tired. Come and drink some water. Yihua passed the teacup to Wanwan. Wanwan said respectfully, Young master, I'm not thirsty. Young master, please drink. How can that do? Be obedient, Wanwan. Yihua said faintly. Young master, there's really no need. Wanwan said in a low voice. Yihua could only place the teacup on the table and said helplessly, Wanwan, you are in cahoots with that obesan, right? Young master? Wanwan asked in confusion. Your trick is a little outdated. I brought a woman to a brothel, which is a taboo in a brothel. It's strange that the obesan didn't say anything. And you of all people you chose me. Although I am handsome, you are too arrogant. Do you see this woman? You actually chose me. Don't you feel ashamed? Or did that obesan tell you about it? Hearing that, Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. What is going on? Yihua gave Donghuang Baiji a look. Woman, it's just that your hair is long but your knowledge is short. You can't even see through such a trick. You just have to remember one thing, the heavens will not drop a pie. Even if it is going to drop, It will not hit you. If it hits you, then you will die. Young master, what are you talking about? Even I am confused. Wan Wan's face was filled with confusion. Yihua picked up the teacup. Drink it. Young master? I'll let you drink. Drink it. Yihua retracted his smile and said gravely. Wan Wan's expression gradually became grave, and she put down her hands from Yihua's shoulders. How did you discover me? Wan Wan asked coldly. Yihua blinked his eyes towards Donghuang Baiji, then said with a smile, I was just speaking nonsense. I didn't expect that it would actually be true. Wan Wan. You tricked me. Wan Wan's palm turned into a dagger and pierced towards Yihua's head. However, when the dagger was just a centimeter away from Yihua's head, it stopped. Speak. Who is the person behind this meticulous scheme of yours? Yihua asked gravely. Although it was just a guess, he was still curious as to who was the one behind this. I just arrived here, and I was already discovered by someone, and there is even an ambush waiting for me. It's just that this person is a bit stupid to actually use a honey trap. Doesn't he know that the women around me are all extremely beautiful? Furthermore, I don't like women who don't have any personality at all. I am completely not interested in women who throw themselves into my arms. Yihua looked just like a skeleton. Wan Wan revealed out a malicious gaze, but she didn't say anything. Yihua stood up, then turned his head around and looked at Wan Wan, then lightly caressed her head. I think you should know Wei Chang, right? I don't know him. Women usually speak in reverse. You should know him. Wan Wan. Donghuang Baiji was very speechless. Yihua is truly a scoundrel. However, this Wan Wan is actually a spy, and furthermore, she is already lying in ambush in the brothel, waiting for Yihua to fall into her trap. Yihua said faintly, Wei Chang is a smart person. He definitely wouldn't use such a method to deal with me. It must be someone else, right? To think that using such a method would be enough. You really don't understand me. Yihua was also speaking nonsense. Who asked this woman to be stupid, to be able to use such a small method to deal with me? She is truly too naive. She is even more naive than me, who is an undead. Bullshit. Lord Ming is both brave and courageous. Who does he think he is? Hearing that, Yihua went into a daze, and even Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. Wei Chang is really here. Yihua laughed. Wan Wan, don't be angry, let's have a good chat. This Lord Ming is your superior, right? Furthermore, you seem to like him a lot. At this moment, Wan Wan's face really turned red. However, very quickly she said with a straight face, No. Lord Ming is so outstanding. I and the others can only look up to Lord Ming's back view. Alright, this is just a little fangirl, the kind that has already been brainwashed. However, she is a little silly. Alright, do you know Wei Chang? What ability does that man have to actually be fancied by the palace master, to actually be able to suppress Lord Ming? From what I see, the palace master's heart must be muddled. Yihua. This Wan Wan is too awesome, to actually dare to insult the palace master behind his back. This palace master is truly pitiful, his heart is muddled. Seems like Wei Chang's position is very high right now. This is a bit troublesome. In actuality, Wei Chang and I are opponents. The reason why I came here this time is to find him, and then kill him. Can you help me find him? As long as I kill Wei Chang, your Lord Ming will return back to his original identity. Yihua said gravely. Wan Wan didn't say anything, and after a while she said, For Lord Ming, I am willing to do anything. Courageous. For Lord Ming to have a subordinate like you, he would be very honored. Of course. Wan Wan said proudly. Donghuang Baiji was a bit stupefied. Yihua only said a few sentences, and this Wan Wan, my god, is she so gullible? This Wan Wan must be a newbie, right? Wan Wan, what is your sect called? Yihua asked curiously. Take a guess. Chapter 12:20. Yihua. Donghuang Baiji. Damn this Wan Wan. Is she really a normal person? Why did she have to be sent to carry out such a difficult mission? It is too dangerous. How would mere mortals like you know? Listen up. Indestructible Shrine. The most powerful existence in the entire 9 provinces and 5 seas, even if it is that big aristocrat, they are not our opponent. While speaking, Wan's face was filled with worship. Yihua shook his head. I originally thought that it would be difficult, but in the end, this indestructible shrine was sold out by a little girl. Sigh. When your boss dies, I will tell him that this girl is not bad. It sounds very powerful. Yihua said in a low voice. Of course. Where is your indestructible shrine? I won't tell you. Wan went into a daze for a moment, then hurriedly changed her words. Yihua's expression stiffened. You also don't know. Who says that I don't know? Wait till I complete this mission, I will know. Yihua. My God, it turns out that this girl still doesn't know. Yihua asked curiously. Then what is your mission this time? This is a very confidential mission. How can I tell you? Yihua laughed. Since you have already said so much, it doesn't matter if you say more. Wan thought about it and agreed. I seem to have said a lot just now. My mission is actually very simple. It is to follow by your side and report to me at any time. Yihua nodded his head and removed the seal that was placed on Wan's body. Wan, how about we make a deal? Yihua smiled. Wan snorted. My immortal divine palace's people are not afraid of death. Even if you put a knife on my neck. Even if you put a knife on my neck, I, Wan, will not cooperate with you. Clang. A sharp knife was placed on Wan's neck. Wan's gaze became deep. How do we cooperate? Yihua. Donghuang Baiji. I have never seen such an unprofessional person. Can't you at least resist a little? How about we cooperate? You continue to hide by my side and pretend that you don't know anything. Yihua said faintly. You want to kill Wei Chang? Yes, after killing Wei Chang, your Lord Ming is already relaxed, isn't it? Wan nodded and felt that there was nothing wrong with what he said. Sure. Wan said very earnestly. This caused both Yihua and Donghuang Baiji to feel like laughing. Wan is truly a newbie. Right, your contact person should be that obeson, right? Yihua asked faintly. Yes. Then shouldn't you report your safety now? Wan was confused. How do I tell them I'm safe? Yihua Dong and Huang Baiji were speechless. Just who taught you? In fact, Wan didn't have anyone to teach her. Lord Ming thought that the more ordinary someone was, the more real they were. In the end, she was tricked. How are you going to report the mission? Someone will contact me when the time comes. I see. Yihua nodded his head. Wan stood at the side gloomily, thinking that her mission had been discovered by the enemy. Looks like I didn't hide it well enough. Fortunately, I should be able to help Lord Ming this time, and make up for my mistakes. Baiji, what are we going to do first? Yihua asked curiously. Up to you, you can go and do whatever you think is the easiest. Outside, Donghuang Baiji still listened to Yihua. Yihua nodded his head. Then let's make a trip to the Wei Sea first and deal with the Eastern Emperor family first. What? You guys are going to the Wei Sea? Deal with the Eastern Emperor family? Wan shouted out in surprise. This woman said that dealing with the Eastern Emperor family is the easiest, but this man actually said that he is going to deal with the Eastern Emperor family. Could it be that the Eastern Emperor family is the easiest in their hearts? They are definitely crazy. I am not going to be crazy along with them. They are simply going to throw their lives away. What's wrong? Can't I? Yihua asked faintly. Of course not. The Eastern Emperor family is very powerful. If you guys go and deal with the Eastern Emperor family, you guys will definitely die. I won't be accompanying you guys. Wan wouldn't go to that kind of place even if she was beaten to death. That won't do. You have to lead the way for us. I won't go. I still have to serve Lord Ming. Wan said solemnly, giving off an attitude of, if you guys want to go and seek death, I won't accompany you guys. Yihua smiled. Think about it, if you help your Lord Ming get rid of the Eastern Emperor family, wouldn't Lord Ming value you a lot? At that time, he might even favor you a lot. This man's words are a bit reasonable. If I were to get rid of the Eastern Emperor family, Lord Ming would definitely let me stay by Lord Ming's side and serve him. Alright then. Isn't this answer a bit too fast? Yihua and Donghuang Baiji were very curious. Just what is this child's brain thinking? Alright, we are currently in Ding province. How are we going to get to the Wei Sea? Yihua asked curiously. In actuality, since we are already here, we only need to teleport to the Wei Sea. However, since I promised to go on a trip with Baiji, no matter what, I have to take a look around. That's right, I just remembered in a few months' time, there will be a huge gathering at Tang Province's Tianshan Mountain. At that time, heroes from all over will be gathering there, and the scene will be rather lively. Alright, Wanwan still doesn't want to go and seek death, thus she can only drag it on. What you mean to say is that the Eastern Emperor family will be going there too. Of course, there is also the one who just became a god, deity Mengyao, who will be attending the gathering too. Speaking of deity Mengyao, Wanwan's face was filled with adoration. Yihua felt that this should be a huge gathering. Thus he asked curiously, Wanwan, is this gathering going to be a fight or something? Are there any prizes, for example, rare items? I am not sure about that, but there should be. Then how big is the scale of this gathering? Will all the people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas be attending? Yihua asked curiously. Of course, this gathering will be called Tianshan Mountain Cauldron Seeking. Yihua understood. Right now, I know where the Eastern Emperor family is located. With Wanwan around, I will be able to dig out that indestructible shrine at any time. What is left is Qingsu. That fellow loves lively scenes, especially when there are good things to be found. If this is really a big event, that fellow Qingsu will definitely be there. From the looks of it, I have to settle Qingsu first. After all, if I miss this village, I won't be able to find this shop anymore. If I want to find Qingsu in the future, it would be very difficult. Alright, let us go to Tang Province then. Tianshan Mountain. Yihua decided. Donghuang Baiji more or less understood what Yihua meant. He should be going to look for Qingsu. After all, Qingsu is also in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Whether or not he will be able to come will depend on his luck. Wanwan let out a sigh of relief. Going to Tianshan Mountain is at least better than going to Eastern Emperor family. Chapter 12:21. However, what Yihua didn't expect was that Qingsu was actually here, and furthermore, he was even currently in the brothel. However, Qingsu wasn't doing anything bad. Instead, he was talking to the obeson, who had a dumbfounded look on his face. Indestructible shrine. Haha. Just now, Qingsu felt that this obesang was a bit strange, and so he decided to ponder about it for a bit. As expected, there is a problem with this obesang. To actually be from indestructible shrine, what kind of person is he, to actually dare to take such an arrogant name? Qingsu's fat face was filled with disdain. Indestructible shrine? Do you have any large-scale events here? Qingsu asked indifferently. Beside him was a dumbfounded Dofusher. To Qingsu, floating battle was still too weak, and he was currently looking for things to make floating battle even stronger. However, the required materials could only be found here, and he had no idea where to start, so he could only ask around. If he wanted to find out more information, he would naturally have to look for large-scale events. There would be a lot of information there. Abasang said with a dumbfounded expression. Yes, there is. Tianshan Cauldron Contest will be held in Tangzhou. At that time, heroes from all walks of life will attend. When Qingsu heard this, he felt that it was interesting. Tianshan Cauldron Aspirations. This name sounded quite domineering. He just didn't know if it would have what he was looking for. Qingsu waved his hand, and Obeson walked out in a daze. He stood there for a long time before he came back to his senses. However, he didn't know what he was doing. With doubts, Obeson put on a professional smile and entertained the customers. The Qingshi will smiled and said, Little Daodu, let's go to Mount Heavenly Cauldron and gain some experience. Dofusher nodded numbly. On the other side, Yihua was also preparing to head to Tang Province. However, this Tianshan Mountain Tripod competition still needed to wait for more than a month. This caused Yihua to be a bit vexed. Where am I supposed to go during this 1 month? He could only accompany the Empress to have a good stroll. Of course, there was also a burden Wanwan by his side. This caused the Empress to be slightly unhappy. After all, it was a world of the two of them, and the sudden addition of a third wheel was still very displeasing. Moreover, this Wanwan was simply a chatterbox. If you didn't talk to her, she could talk on her own for an entire day. Dong Huang Baiji couldn't hold it in any longer. Yi Hua felt that this one was rather interesting. To be able to converse with me for an entire day, she is simply invincible. Right now Yi Hua and the others had already arrived at Tang Province. However, what Yi Hua didn't expect was that this Tang Province was actually smaller than Ding Province. The capital city was not as grand as the Ding Province. It felt similar to the Kangluo continent. However, the air in the Tang Province was very fresh, and it contained rich spiritual qi. People said that if you wanted to cultivate, you should go to the Tang Province. If you wanted to live a luxurious life, you should go to the Ding Province. The air here is truly too good. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out happily. While running, Dong Huang Baiji really did not care about her image at all. Yi Hua sighed helplessly. Fortunately, there isn't anyone in the surroundings. If there was someone who saw the Empress's little daughter acting like this, I would have no choice but to silence them. Wan said proudly. Of course, the Tang Province has produced the most exalted gods. Even exalted goddess Mengyao lives in the Tang Province. Speaking of Mengyao, Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji immediately thought of Yi. He was also a well-known existence here. I really didn't expect this. Wan, why haven't we seen any towns after walking for so long? Yi Hua asked curiously. Young Master Yi, there aren't many towns in the Tang Province, there are only sects and so on. Because the Tang Province is a province that mainly focuses on cultivation, not many people are willing to waste their time there. Looking at the boundless grassland and the mountains on the horizon, Yi Hua's mood was pretty good. Humans, when it's appropriate, it's still better to come out for a vacation to relax and disperse the haze in one's heart. How far are we from the heavenly mountain? Yi Hua asked faintly. It's still quite a distance, I guess. In any case, we just have to walk towards those mountains. One only knew this much. Yi Hua nodded his head. I hope that I will be able to bump into Qingsu this time. That would be perfect. I have already formulated a complete set of rules for Qingsu, and I guarantee that I will let Qingsu know what it means to be a boss. Since I was able to deal with you in the past, I will be able to deal with you today as well. If not, how am I supposed to be your boss? And that way, Chong, I am really looking forward to it. It has already been a very long time since I exercised my muscles and bones. I hope that the two of you can give me some strength and not disappoint me. Just as Yi Hua was daydreaming and beating up his subordinates, a black figure suddenly descended from the sky and directly smashed onto the ground not far away from him. If I had walked a bit faster just now, that black figure would have directly smashed onto my head. This black figure is definitely a high-level scamming technique. Look, there are people coming. Along with the corpse falling onto the ground, another two people descended onto the ground. The two people looked at the corpse, then looked at Yi Hua, then shouted out gravely, "You killed someone." Yi Hua didn't expect that the two people were really scamming. Speaking of which, scamming is the same no matter where it is. Hand over the treasures that you have on you and the woman beside you, and we brothers can spare your life. Yi Hua stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers while the two people were puzzled. Afterward, Yi Hua continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. Wan was very puzzled. These two people look quite formidable. Why are they standing there stupidly? Then Wan stretched out her hand and waved it in front of their eyes. There is no reaction at all. Wan hurriedly followed after Yi Hua. Yi Hua, who are those two people? Dong Huang Baiji finally returned and asked curiously. They are scammers, I made them scammers forever. Yi Hua said faintly. This kind of person, I should teach him a good lesson. No matter what you do, don't try to blackmail me. Even if you take out two mountain-splitting axes and stand in front of me and shout that you are robbing me, I will still have to admire your courage. But scammers, I will look down on you. Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a look, but did not say anything. Wan, does this kind of situation happen often? Yi Hua asked faintly. I'm not sure either, this is my first time coming to Tang City. This place sure isn't safe. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled. Hearing that, Yi Hua laughed. Just who is the one that isn't safe here? Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then soon after she laughed. The three people continued walking forward. A few hours later, a figure could be seen. The figure was big on the top and small on the bottom. If one were to observe carefully, one would find that there were actually two people carrying a person. These two people were naturally Qingsu and Do Fusher. Looking at the three people in front of him, Qingsu was a bit puzzled. "Put me down." Do Fusher respectfully squatted down, and Qingsu walked forward to inspect the person. Qingsu's brows slightly wrinkled as he mumbled, "This is an expert. This is definitely an expert." Do Fusher did not say anything. He was just like a robot. On the other hand, Qingsu was very surprised. To be able to kill someone without using any techniques, I admire this. Do Fusher remained silent. This person's strength is probably on par with mine. Qingsu was very arrogant and started bragging. Chapter 12:22. Right at this moment, 4 to 5 people descended from the sky and surrounded Qingsu and the others. Judging from their attire, they should be from the same group. "Audacious, you actually dared to kill our people. Do you want to die?" The man in the lead shouted and pulled out the blades in his hands. Qingsu touched his head and said, "What do you guys want to do?" "What do we want to do? You killed our people, and you still ask us what we want to do? Kill them." "Kill." Qingsu shook his head. "I actually took the blame. Little Dodo, I will leave this to you." Qingsu didn't want to pay attention to these people and directly walked forward. "Audacious, you actually dare to look down on us." A sharp sword could be seen piercing towards Qingsu's throat, but right at this moment, a big hand grabbed onto the sword's blade. The thumb lightly pressed down. A crisp sound rang out. The sharp sword broke, and Qingsu continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. Do Fusher's gaze turned cold. He grabbed onto the broken sword's blade and directly stabbed it into the man's forehead, instantly killing a man. Qingsu put his hands together, appearing to be very sincere. A few screams sounded out behind him, and then everything became quiet. "We are still too slow. What should we think of?" Qingsu muttered. Do Fusher returned to Qingsu's back and didn't say anything. In the misty land of Tang Province, Meng Yao stood beside the window and looked into the distance while opening the handkerchief in her hand. The lollipop had already become very small, and Meng Yao couldn't help but hold it in her mouth and let out a sigh of relief. "Meng Yao." Meng Yao kept the lollipop in her mouth and slowly turned around. "Mengli, what's the matter?" "Tianshan Cauldron Ascension is about to begin. You should be prepared." Mengli discovered that Meng Yao was very strange recently. Meng Yao would often stand here and stare blankly. Meng Yao sighed. "I don't want to go anymore. You can go in my place." Meng Yao, Tianshan Cauldron Ascension is a big matter of our Tang Province. And as the only god of Tang Province, you should go and show the prestige of our Tang Province. Mengli softly persuaded. "Prestige? Everyone in the 9 provinces and 5 seas knows that I am the only female god. What prestige do I still need to show?" "Meng Yao, it's all in the past. Are you still thinking about it? It's not good for your cultivation," Mengli said directly, not afraid of offending her. Meng Yao slowly closed her eyes. A person she didn't want to see appeared in front of her. The more she didn't want to see him, the clearer the figure became. It was like a nightmare. "I know," Meng Yao said in a low voice. Mengli advised, "Meng Yao, if you go on like this, something bad will happen. You have to stabilize exalted deity's power now. Don't waste all your previous efforts. Don't make the same mistake again." Meng Yao nodded her head, expressing that she understood. But to really do it, it's so hard, really so hard. Right now, I am finally able to experience my master's situation. Love tribulations. It really is the most formidable tribulations, and only men who are heartless are able to get through it. Women. Meng Yao, the main reason why we're here is to congratulate you. You need to rest up. "All right, go get some rest," Meng Yao said in a low voice, then sat down on the straw mat. Mengli left with a peace of mind. However, after Mengli left, Meng Yao opened her eyes, took out a lollipop and put it in her mouth. He exhaled slightly. A month's time passed by very quickly. Yihua had already arrived at the foot of the legendary Heavenly Mountain. At the foot of the Heavenly Mountain, there was a surging river. and the entire mountain was just like a lone island that soared into the clouds. Yihua felt that bad review. They don't even have a place to stay, and they are still here at Heavenly Mountain? They are just a bunch of people who have nothing better to do. Whatever sect, whatever family, all of them are bragging to the heavens. I am not here to listen to you guys bragging. I am here to look for Ching Su. At the foot of the mountain, there were various sects and clans that were setting up their tents and visiting each other. However, Yihua was currently looking for Ching Su's figure. After looking around for a while, he still couldn't find Ching Su. This made Yihua feel that Ching Su wasn't coming. Did you see that fatty Ching Su? Yihua asked faintly. Donghuang Baiji was also helping to look for Ching Su, but she wasn't able to find him, and instead, she found a bunch of trouble. Behind Donghuang Baiji were a few youngsters, and from a single look, one could tell that they were disciples from some big sect. Their expressions were very arrogant, as if their father was the supreme overlord, and they could do whatever they wanted. I didn't manage to find him, Donghuang Baiji said helplessly. Who asked me to be so beautiful? I have brought trouble for Yihua again. At this moment, Wanwan also returned, and similarly, there were a few youngsters following behind her. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched slightly. I told you guys to look for Ching Su, but in the end, you guys came back with a tail. Don't you know that I hate dealing with this kind of thing? And I already hate this kind of way of acting cool. It's not cool at all. Young lady, I am a disciple of Jiang family. Nice to meet you. One of the youngsters said with a smile. Young lady, I am a disciple of Eastern Imperial family. Can I walk with you? Young lady, I am. As expected, they were all from prestigious families. Even their target, the Donghuang clan, had come. Donghuang Baiji and Wanwan didn't say anything and directly stood behind Yihua. Yihua suddenly felt like calling his subordinates over. I really don't want to make a move on these small fries. They are simply wasting my stamina. What are you guys doing? Suddenly, a voice rang out. Donghuang Qingru could be seen walking over slowly, and then, she was stunned. Yihua and Donghuang Baiji were also stunned. This is too much of a coincidence, right? The world is so big, and we actually met each other so quickly. Donghuang Qingru didn't know what to do. The floor manager told me to keep this a secret, and yet, these two people actually came over. I'm finished, Lord Qingru, this woman. Shut up. Scram. Donghuang Qingru shouted out angrily. Everyone noticed Donghuang Qingru's strange behavior, and felt very astonished. Could it be that this woman wants to monopolize this place? Donghuang Qingru, this isn't good, right? Do you want to monopolize this place? That's right, after chasing away the disciple, you want to monopolize this place? What a bad idea. Eastern Imperial family is only like this, that's all. Donghuang Qingru didn't know what to say. From what the floor manager said, this is the Eastern Imperial family's scandal. How can I possibly let others know about it? Yihua crooked his finger towards Donghuang Baiji. Such a frivolous action. If it was in the past, Donghuang Qingru would have flipped out long ago. However, I don't dare to do that now. This man is very scary. Donghuang Qingru pretended to be very tsundere and walked in front of Yihua. Since we have already met, when this matter ends, let's go to your family together, Yihua said faintly. However, Wanwan, who was at the side, immediately said, I won't be going. Yihua expressed that it was impossible. Wanwan didn't understand. Do you think that the Eastern Imperial family is your backyard, that you can just go there whenever you want? Don't you know that it is very scary? Donghuang Qingru was already a bit frightened. If I were to bring them over, and if they were to investigate this matter, I would have to bear a huge responsibility. Chapter 12:23. If I don't bring him along, this man will definitely kill me. Since I'm going to die either way, I can only admit defeat. Who asked him to be so strong? I have no choice but to lower my head. Is there no boss coming? Yihua asked curiously and changed the topic. Donghuang Qingru nodded her head. Yes, the main purpose of this Tianshan Mountain competition is to congratulate Goddess Meng Yao. Normally, family heads would only bring their regards. Just bring? Isn't this the same as looking down on that Goddess Meng Yao? Yihua said faintly. The boss actually doesn't go out and let his underling bring him along. If this isn't looking down on her, then what is it? Dong Huang Qingru didn't know how to explain it. This is just a matter of tradition. Would all the other gods have to come and congratulate a newly ascended god? Wouldn't that be very embarrassing? Furthermore, it's a woman. To be able to bring a gift is already a sign that they like her. At this moment, a colorful cloud flew over with a strong aura. Everyone couldn't help but look over, and their gazes were filled with respect. Could this be? The colorful cloud descended and a beautiful figure appeared. Everyone was stunned by the woman in front of them. They immediately cupped their hands and shouted, "Greetings to Goddess Meng Yao." The person who came was naturally Meng Yao. To be honest, she didn't want to come, but she had to. However, when she saw Yi Hua, she felt a little weird. When she saw Dong Huang Baiji behind Yi Hua, she knew that it was her. It's the emperor, not him. Everyone, you have worked hard. The gate of Tianshan Mountain has already opened. You can all go up now. Meng Yao said gently. Actually, this Tianshan Mountain competition was a cultivation convention. Above Tianshan Mountain, there was dense spiritual energy. Gods wouldn't care about spiritual energy, but these disciples valued it. Training here for 7 days was equivalent to training outside for 700 days. To them, 700 years wasn't much, but it would be hard for them to get through it. Now that there was a chance, they naturally wouldn't let it go. Beauties were just fleeting clouds. It was more important to increase one's strength. Even Dong Huang Qingru fought hard to get this spot. I'll go up first. Dong Huang Qingru said softly. Yi Hua waved his hand. He didn't expect this Tianshan Mountain competition to be so boring. The only expert was Meng Yao. Even now, she was not sure if that bastard Qing Su would come. After everyone ascended the heavenly mountain, Yi Hua looked at Meng Yao and said faintly, "To think that I would be able to meet her here." "Yeah, what a coincidence," Meng Yao muttered. "You mistook me as Xiao Tian just now, right?" Yi Hua couldn't help but say. In actuality, it could be seen that Meng Yao was a bit disappointed just now. This little brother of his was actually able to make an exalted god worry about him. Not bad, he was quite capable. That's more like my younger brother. A man who can do great things. Wanwan was dumbfounded. She never expected them to know each other. How was that possible? How did they know each other? It seemed like they were very familiar with each other. "No," Meng Yao said softly. Yi Hua let out a long sigh, and his tone was filled with regret. Dong Huang Baiji immediately knew what Yi Hua was going to do. Meng Yao frowned slightly, not understanding what he meant. "Meng Yao, I'm afraid that you won't be able to see little Tian anymore in the future." Yi Hua appeared to be incomparably regretful, making it seem as if Yi Juetian had already died. At least, that was what Meng Yao thought, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Could it be that something happened to him? That shouldn't be possible. He has such a powerful big brother. No matter what, nothing should happen to him. Yi Hua didn't say anything else and stood with his hands behind his back. "Although you are a god, you are still a woman. I am very experienced. I don't believe that you won't ask. Let's see who can hold back." Dong Huang Baiji poked Yi Hua. "You are about the same. Other people indeed want to know, but they are too embarrassed to ask." Wanwan felt that it would be better for her to stay further away from Yi Hua, in case he killed her to silence her if she knew too much. After Wanwan left, Meng Yao really asked Yi Hua, "What's wrong?" Yi Hua was secretly delighted. Seems like this god Meng Yao is still worried about Xiao Tian. This is truly not easy. However, speaking of which, I was the one who tried to tear them apart in the past, so this time, I will properly play the matchmaker. Whether or not they will be able to succeed, it all depends on whether or not they are fated to be together. 9 deaths and 1 lives. Yi Hua said faintly. As expected, after hearing Yi Hua say that 9 deaths and 1 lives, Meng Yao's brows tightly wrinkled, appearing to be very heavy. Her emotions were also very complicated. "What do you mean?" Meng Yao asked. Yi Hua shook his head. "Meng Yao, Xiao Tian knows that he is guilty, so he went to a very dangerous place. I tried to stop him again and again, but it was to no avail. It was as if he was sending himself to death. Perhaps, this is a kind of release. In the future, you will be able to be at ease. After all, this is just a calamity, don't take it to heart. Yihua said gravely. Although it seemed like he was tearing apart Meng Yao, in actuality, he was just playing the matchmaker. Donghuang Baiji felt very helpless. This moon elder has become a moon elder again. Meng Yao said gravely. Indeed, this is just a calamity, I won't take it to heart. What the F***ck, is this not a normal path? Shouldn't I be asking about it? Right, let me tell you a secret. Yihua couldn't help but say. He decided to scam his little brother. Donghuang Baiji was very curious. What is Yihua going to tell me? Meng Yao was very curious about this secret. Didn't I give you a jade slip last time? However, the corresponding one is not with me anymore. It is with little Tian. I told him that you will be in trouble, and he will go and train without saying a word. When the time comes, I hope that he will be able to help you. However, little Tian will pretend to be me and help you. Donghuang Baiji was incomparably shocked. This person actually sold out little Tian just like that? Is this really a good thing? Yihua continued. If you want to see him, then just crush the jade slip. If you don't want to see him, then forget about it. However, I will definitely do what I promised you. You can keep this jade slip. You can choose which one you want to crush. Yihua gave another jade slip to Meng Yao. It could be counted as a kind of apology. Meng Yao took the jade slip and said in a low voice, "Thank you." "No need. Then I won't be accompanying you all anymore. I have to go and give a lecture," Meng Yao said in a low voice. After all, this Tian Shan mountain ascension competition was still going on. And according to convention, I, the god, have to go and impart some of my experiences. This is the Tian Shan mountain ascension competition. Even Yihua was misled by Wan. And here I thought that it was going to be some grand martial arts competition. To Yihua, this was just a small show, but to others with a god's guidance, it would be much easier for them. After Meng Yao left, Yihua lit up a stick of cigarette. Chapter 12:24. Yihua, do you think that Meng Yao will look for little Tian? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yihua shook his head. At the very least, it won't happen in a short period of time. Perhaps it won't happen in this lifetime. For something like fate, if it truly exists, it will definitely not be broken. You actually have such an epiphany? How fake. I still have my own views on the matters between a man and a woman. Yihua expressed that he was already an experienced person, and he was completely able to act arrogantly. Donghuang Baiji clicked her tongue. You really know how to boast. Alright, you don't have to smoke anymore. These few days, you have been addicted to smoking. Donghuang Baiji snatched away the cigarette from Yihua's hand, then threw it away. Yihua smiled. Let's go, we should also go up and listen to the discussion and broaden our horizons. Since he had to wait for Donghuang Qingru, he decided to go up and listen. The mountain looked very tall, but there was still a teleportation formation at the bottom. It was really for lazy people. After passing through the teleportation formation, a huge compass appeared in front of them. The sky was black and dotted with stars. It was a very romantic scene. At the very least, Donghuang Baiji felt that it was very romantic. This kind of starry sky was truly rarely seen. Even Wan was captivated. She fantasized about sitting here with Lord Ming and staying together forever. How wonderful would that be? Everyone was sitting cross-legged around the compass. Meng Yao was sitting in the center, talking about the Great Tao. Yihua directly ignored it. This kind of thing is only useful to trick little kids. Can these people understand the Great Tao that you, a god, are talking about? That does not exist. Fortunately, now that everyone was gathered together, it would be easier to find them. After all, with Qing Su's size, if he was really here, he would definitely be able to see it. Yihua took a glance, and the corner of his mouth arced up as he walked towards the left side. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly followed after Donghuang Baiji. Wan, who was at the side, had yet to come back to her senses, and was currently engrossed in looking at the starry sky. Yihua did indeed see an enormous figure, and that iconic moment. It was truly hard for me to find it. Qing Su, I didn't expect that I understood you so well. I reckon that you are also cursing me in your heart. right? He was even caught by the Supreme Overlord. How tragic. Yihua directly sat cross-legged beside Qing Su. Donghuang Baiji had never seen Qing Su before, but she had seen Do Fusher before. Do Fusher was also coiled up to the side. At this time, Qing Su's eyes were closed. He rotated the Buddhist beads in his hand and slowly said, "Benefactor, you're really persistent." Qing Su, stop pretending. Yihua said faintly. Qing Su opened his eyes, but they were still aslit. "Benefactor, what exactly do you want?" "I want to hit you," Yihua said very straightforwardly. "If this fellow doesn't hit me, I will feel very apologetic in my heart." He glanced at Do Fusher, who had been turned into a fool by Qing Su. He didn't know if he could turn back. Qing Su heaved a sigh of relief. "Benefactor, there are many people who want to kill me, but none of them have succeeded." "That's right, no one is able to succeed, but I, the Supreme Overlord, am not a human," Yihua said gravely. These words stunned Qing Su. "Are you a transvestite?" Donghuang Baiji, who was at the back. "Why do I feel that all of Yihua's subordinates are a little chinibu? Today, no matter what, I will beat you awake. If I can't wake you up, then I will keep beating you. I'll beat you until you wake up." "Benefactor, I know that you are very powerful. However, I am not bad myself. If the two of us were to fight, I fear that these people would not be so lucky," Qing Su said coolly. He simply did not care about these people, treating them as though they were ants. "So, fighting is usually done by commoners and bastards. How about we play something a little more powerful?" Qing Su suggested. Yihua didn't even think too much and said straightforwardly, "Sure, how do you want to play?" "How about we each send one person to represent us in the battle?" Yihua knew what Qing Su was thinking about. So it's still the same old trick as before. The reason why Qing Su wanted to make the world of solitude stronger was because he was experimenting. He felt a sense of accomplishment towards the world of solitude. After all, he had created it himself. Therefore, using something that he had created to participate in the battle would give him face even if he won. He was also quite confident in his floating battle. "Sure." Yihua naturally wouldn't back down. "Since you, Qing Su, are able to make others stronger, I, the Supreme Overlord, am naturally able to make others stronger as well. Qing Su, your biggest weakness is that you underestimate my strength, and this kind of underestimation is fatal." "Little Dodo," Qing Su calmly called. Do Fusher opened his eyes, and his dark purple pupils deepened. "Yes." Floating World's voice made the surrounding people very unhappy. "You're sick. Don't you know how to be quiet?" "That's right, to be so arrogant in front of High God Mengyao. Which sect are you from? State your name. You are simply lacking in quality. How did this kind of person manage to sneak in?" Qing Su scratched his eyebrows. Just when he was about to curse at Do Fusher, he grabbed onto his own neck, let out a deep roar, and rolled his eyes upwards. In just 2 breaths of time, his head tilted and he fell onto the ground. Even his primordial spirit didn't have the chance to jump out. He was instantly killed. One must know that all of the people present were all formidable existences, and any one of them would be an unparalleled existence in the god's realm. But just now all of them were instantly killed by Qing Su. Most probably, they wouldn't even know how they died. Following the collapse of those people, everyone stood up and looked at the scene with a heavy gaze, not knowing what had happened. At this moment, Mengyao opened her eyes and looked at Yihua with her eyebrows tightly knitted. In the history of Heaven Mountain Ascension Tournament, there had never been a case where someone died. After all, this was just a lecture. Yihua didn't care about the life and death of those people. After all, Qing Su was more important. "Don't make a ruckus. You all go and listen to your lecture. We will do our own thing. We will mind our own business. If you disturb me again, the consequences will be the same as them," Qing Su said coldly. He directly laid his cards on the table. "You trash are annoying me. You all are just like flies buzzing around my ears." Mengyao looked at Yihua, seemingly asking, "Is this person your friend?" Yihua gave a look that said, "You don't have to care about this fellow. You can't care about this fellow either. I have to use my strength to deal with him." Donghuang Baiji didn't expect Qing Su to be so abnormal. "Everyone shut up. Qing Su's aura is very strong. We can't act rashly now. Let's wait and see what happens first. After all, Goddess Mengyao hasn't even made a move yet. Since someone from Heaven Mountain Ascension Tournament died, you as Goddess Mengyao should take care of this matter too, right? However, just as Mengyao wanted to take care of this matter, she was stopped by Yi Hua. Benefactor, you should send someone else. The woman behind you is not good enough. Qing Su added. Seems like he knew that Donghuang Baiji's strength was definitely stronger than Dou Fusher's. Yi Hua said faintly, "Don't worry, I will send the weakest person to fight. I am looking forward to it." What Qing Su said wasn't a lie. Right now, everyone was listening to the conversation between Yi Hua and Qing Su. They weren't listening to anything else. Chapter 1225. Mengyao was the same. Just what were they doing? Donghuang Qingru was also very puzzled. Are they going to send the weakest one? Why did they fight? Yi Hua shouted, "Donghuang Qingru." Donghuang, who was sitting cross-legged not far away, responded softly. Everyone looked at Donghuang Qingru, as if they were saying, "So you are the weakest existence that he mentioned." Donghuang Qingru was very puzzled. How did I become the weakest? In actuality, Yi Hua didn't know anyone else and only knew this one person. Donghuang asked weakly, What's the matter?" "Stand up." Donghuang Qingru felt very sullen. "Do I have to stand up just because you asked me to?" Donghuang Qingru, am going to stand up. Bite me. Don't think that you can order people around just because you are strong. He is indeed quite weak. Have you thought it through? Qing Su chuckled. Although he was smiling, the fat on his face made it impossible to tell that he was smiling. Donghuang Qingru felt very hurt. "That's enough from the two of you. What do you mean by weak? Even I almost believe you." The people who were sitting around felt that Donghuang Qingru was indeed weak. It seemed to be the case. "Come over." Yi Hua shouted out once again. Donghuang Qingru clenched her fist tightly. "I will remember today's humiliation. One day, I, Donghuang Qingru, will be able to pat my chest and say, 'If you have the guts, you can humiliate me one more time. But today, you can humiliate me as you wish. I, Donghuang Qingru, will not even blink. I swear." Donghuang Qingru obediently walked to the side and looked at Dou Fusher. She felt that this person was very evil, especially his eyes. Could it be that his opponent was him? Alright, he was indeed a little weak. Should he change to someone stronger? At this moment, Yi Hua said faintly, "We naturally have to be cautious in this competition. The reaction of a cultivator would naturally be extraordinary. Indeed, if a person's reaction speed is fast, he would naturally have an advantage." Qing Su nodded his head, agreeing with what Yi Hua said. "Then for the first round, how about we compete in reaction speed?" Yi Hua said faintly. "Sure, how do you want to compete?" Yi Hua stretched out his hand, and two huge hammers could be seen appearing. The number 10 million was printed on it. Looking at the big black hammer and the string of zeros on it, it seems like it is very heavy. Qing Su was a little confused. Donghuang Qingru picked up the hammer that was on the ground. Donghuang Qingru had thought that the hammer would be very heavy, but I never expected that it would be so light. It was like a feather. Dou Fusher also gripped his hammer, his eyes filled with doubt. Qing Su curiously asked, "What does that mean?" Yi Hua briefly explained the rules. When Donghuang Baiji, who was behind Yi Hua, heard this, she thought to herself, Isn't this a little too formidable? You can even play like this. Wasn't it a little too careless?" Donghuang Baiji wasn't the only one who felt this way. Everyone else felt the same way as well. Mengyao didn't understand just what was going on. Donghuang Qingru had already understood the rules of the game. This was indeed a result of cultivation, and strength was also very important. "This rule seems interesting. Let's begin then," Qing Su said softly, feeling that this was a new idea. Dou Fusher and Donghuang Qingru sat cross-legged on the ground with a hammer on their right, and an iron pot in the middle. The two of them stared at each other deeply. Of course, Donghuang Qingru wouldn't allow herself to lose. Everyone here was from prestigious clans. If she lost, she would lose a lot of face. Therefore he could only win. Yi Hua shouted out, Dong Huangqingru, use a bit more strength and hammer him to death. If Do Fusher was still conscious, he would definitely feel wronged. Your Honor, you can't keep scamming me like this, right? However, the current floating world Do did not have such thoughts. He rubbed his hands together, his muscles tensed up as he stared at Dong Huangqingru. First of all, he couldn't lose when they stared at each other. Yihua shouted out, "Let's begin. Whoever's hammer breaks first will lose. This is a battle of reaction and strength." Indeed, with their strength, it would be a piece of cake for them to smash this balloon hammer. However, he couldn't smash it, so he had to control his strength. In the eyes of Do Fusher and Dong Huangqingru, it was as if they wanted to hammer the other party to death. They tried their best to control their strength so that the hammer would not explode. No one was in the mood to listen to the lecture anymore. Even Meng Yao was looking at the two of them. The atmosphere at the scene was a little tense and oppressive. Even the palms of the people sitting next to them were sweating. Do Fusher and Dong Huangqingru took a deep breath. It was as if they were going to fight. The two of them shouted in a stern voice, "Sure to. Scissors. Sure to." Dong Huangqingru's two hands were revealed, and the change in Dong Huangqingru's expression could be clearly seen. From nervousness to surprise, and then to distorted. That expression of hers seemed to be saying, "Brat, you are playing. I am going to hammer you to death." Right now, a trace of a strange smile appeared on Yihua's face. Do Fusher was very strong right now, and with Dong Huangqingru's current strength, it was impossible for her to win against Do Fusher. Therefore, I have to add some extra strength to Dong Huangqingru's strength. This is not cheating, this is a symbol of strength. Dong Huangqingru didn't even know how fast she was. She picked up the hammer that was on her right hand and jumped up. Astral winds howled. That 10000000 hammer seemed to carry the aura of death as it smashed down towards Do Fusher's forehead. Right now, Do Fusher wanted to cover his forehead with a black wok. However, bang! Before Do Fusher's hands could even touch his forehead, that black hammer smashed onto Do Fusher's forehead, and an explosive sound could even be heard. Do Fusher's forehead could be seen instantly becoming red and swollen. Dong Huangqingru felt that she was going to explode, and that distorted expression on her face was gradually replaced by a strange smile. Do Fusher rubbed his forehead, his face tensed up. At this moment, Qing Su was frowning slightly. Although it was a frown, it was not visible at all. "You're really amazing. You actually managed to raise this weakling to the same level as you in an instant," Qing Su said faintly. Yihua said in a low voice, "Qing Su, don't forget that there are a lot of concepts that I taught you." Qing Su didn't say anything. His tiny eyes seemed to be filled with craftiness. The game continued. Do Fusher, who had been struck by the hammer, had a serious expression on his face. Coupled with the red swelling on his forehead, he looked a little comical. "Sure to. Scissors. Paper." Do Fusher was dumbfounded, and his hands immediately reached out to grab the pot. However, this time, Dong Huangqingru's speed was even faster. Do Fusher still hadn't gotten the wok. Boom! A cyclone suddenly erupted, and everyone couldn't help but raise their hands to stop it. Dong Huangqingru had a crazed look on her face. She had controlled her attack very well just now. Her hammer did not break, but it had inflicted heavy damage on him. Take a look, his head was crooked. Do Fusher clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with savagery. If I win, this person will die." At this moment, Yihua laughed lightly. "Qing Su, it seems like your plan isn't very good." "Haha, the outcome of the battle has yet to be revealed. It isn't like whoever wins will win." Although Qing Su said that, he still felt that his face was being thrown away. End of this chapter. Chapter 1226. This Do Fusher, do you even know how to play rock paper scissors? Why are you so weak? You let others win twice, and this time your head is crooked. You may be shameless, but I am. Dong Huang Baiji had never seen such a game before. If it was an ordinary person, that person might have already turned into minced meat. Yet, Do Fusher's head was actually only tilted to one side. It seems like this subordinate of Yihua is truly very strong. Seeing Do Fusher being hammered so ruthlessly, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of cold air. This was simply too savage. If it was him, that blow just now would have knocked his head off. Meng Yao felt like this wasn't a game at all. She was practically trying to beat her opponent to death. Dong Huangqingru, who had won 2 rounds in a row, was very excited. This game is really good. When I return to my clan, I can let my disciples play this game. Especially at the moment when he won, he felt like hammering his opponent to death. It felt so good. Dou Fusher slowly raised his head and stared at Dong Huangqingru, the veins on his forehead bulging. However, the match continued. The two continued. Sure two. Scissors. Step. Everyone's mouth twitched. That purple-eyed man was too unlucky. Have you never won in rock, paper, scissors? He actually lost again. Right now, Dong Huangqingru could skillfully control the strength of the hammer. She didn't break the hammer just now, and she could continue to increase the strength. Dou Fusher stared at his scissors in disbelief. Why did this guy drop 3 rocks in a row? Was this person the devil? That's right, Dong Huangqingru used 3 rocks, while Dou of the World used 3 scissors. This wasn't just a battle of reaction speed and strength, it was also a battle of intelligence. Qing Su's complexion darkened. This idiot, can't you change a little? You actually used scissors 3 times, are you Xiao Air? Yihua shook his head. Even if Dou Fusher had become stronger because of Qing Su, his foolish personality is still the same. Dong Huangbaiji shook her head. This Dou Fusher is truly an idiot. Change. Dong Huangqingru was very proud of herself. It was as if she had already won. She immediately picked up the hammer and smashed it down. This time Dou Fusher did not take the blame. Boom. Dong Huangqingru's attack was very heavy. Dou Fusher's head was smashed into the ground. Everyone felt the pain just by looking at it. Meng Yao felt that Dong Huangqingru's strength had increased by a lot. It shouldn't have been like this in the beginning. How did it suddenly increase by so much? Right at this moment, Yihua said to Dong Huangbaiji, who was behind him, "How about we go back home and have some fun as well?" "Sure. It's settled then." With a strange smile on his face, Yihua said, "It's settled then." Dong Huangbaiji didn't expect that Yihua would be the kind of person who doesn't even recognize his own family when he starts beating you up. He completely doesn't see you as his wife. Dou Fusher pulled his face out of the ground. There was an obvious face print on the ground, and there was even a little bit of blood. Because Dou Fusher's nose was bleeding, it was a waste. His hairstyle was also messed up. His jet cut had been hammered into a pot cut. Looking at Dong Huangqingru, she waved the hammer in her hand as if she was extremely confident. His expression was indeed asking for a beating. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, "Keep a low profile." "All right." Dong Huangqingru shouted loudly. She slowly sat down and placed the hammer at the side. He didn't expect the feeling of beating someone up to be so satisfying. It was simply a sublimation of the soul. Why didn't he realize this before? Right now, Qing Su felt a bit uncomfortable and shouted out, "Win a round for me." Hearing that, Dou Fusher's expression became grave. However, he still nodded his head. The competition continued. Stone. Scissors. Cloth. Swish. 2 hands appeared. Everyone was astonished. They didn't expect that Dou Fusher was actually a pair of scissors. However, Dong Huangqingru became a piece of cloth. Dong Huangqingru hurriedly picked up the black pot in front of her and placed it on her head with a complacent look on her face. "Is your speed faster than mine?" However, very quickly, everyone discovered that something was different. Dou Fusher's speed wasn't very fast, but his entire body had become malevolent. His expression seemed to be both smiling and crying at the same time. When Dong Huangqingru saw Dou Fusher's expression, she was a bit stupefied. Right now, Dou Fusher's aura gradually became stronger, and a gale formed around his body. Dou Fusher could be seen holding onto the hammer, and with a sinister look on his face he said, "You are dead for sure." Boom. Intense killing intent was being emitted out from Dou Fusher's body, and Dong Huangqingru felt as if she could see a bloody mouth appearing behind Dou Fusher. That was a demon opening up the gates of hell. Ferocious killing intent engulfed the entire place. Dou Fusher raised his hammer high up, and his deathly gaze seemed to be telling Dong Huangqingru, "I am going to smash you into meat paste." The immense pressure caused Dong Huangqingru to feel that this fellow has gone mad. He would rather smash his hammer into pieces than kill me. This is breaking the rules. Right now, Qingsu had a smile on his face. In actuality, the rules of the game are, whoever lives will die. The one who lives will always be the winner. Yihua's expression remained the same, and he appeared to be very calm. However, Dong Huangbaiji was different. Do Fusher actually broke the rules. Yesterday morning, everyone in the surroundings also had a look of astonishment on their faces. If Dong Huangqingru was like this just now, the purple-eyed man would have been smashed into pieces countless times. He is still too young. Right now, Meng Yao didn't even know what to say. This is too childish, too careless. As Do Fusher raised his hammer, Dong Huangqingru felt that she was done for. Boom, boom, boom. When the hammer landed, the entire heaven mountain seemed to be shaking, and cracks appeared on the enormous compass, seeming as if the compass was about to break apart. Meanwhile, Dong Huangqingru's position had already become a deep pit. The hammer in Do Fusher's hand had already disappeared, and it was evident that it had been smashed into pieces. This is simply too terrifying. If Do Fusher's head were to be smashed into pieces, he would definitely turn into meat paste. Dong Huangqingru floated in the air and held onto her chest. This scoundrel. He actually broke the rules just to kill me. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, "You lost." However, the rules were that whoever's hammer was the first to break would be the one to lose. In order to get rid of Dong Huangqingru, Do Fusher didn't hesitate to use his hammer to exchange for Dong Huangqingru. However, it was a pity that Dong Huangqingru's speed seemed to be even faster than Do Fusher's. With a smile on his face, Qingsu said, No, your man ran away." "Oh. Then what should we do now? Let's count it as a draw." Yihua nodded his head and didn't explain too much. Do Fusher walked back slowly. Dong Huangqingru was feeling great, and thus, she sat at the side. Everyone became quiet again. What are these two perverts trying to do? Seems like we still have to step out, Qingsu said faintly. Yihua was never one to back down. Nodding his head, he said, "All right, it's our turn. However, let's not compete in strength. How about we compete in something else instead?" "Sure, I was the one who thought of the game just now, so you will be the one to compete in the next game." Yihua appeared to be very generous, and thus, he let Qingsu come out with the game. Qingsu didn't act courteous and said faintly, "How about we compete in poison?" Yihua went into a slight daze. Poison is Qingsu's forte. The so-called compete in poison was to make a poison each and have the other party swallow. End of this chapter. Chapter 12:27. Then they would concoct the antidote. If anyone failed to concoct the antidote, they would die. This was also the most effective method of Qingsu. It was simply an inhumane game. Everyone still didn't understand what he meant by playing with poison. Could it be that he wanted to fight poison with poison? Meng Yao was also puzzled. How was she supposed to play with poison? Yihua and Qingsu stood up at the same time, then walked to the center of the square, and the two of them were separated by a distance of 30 meters. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, "Poison naturally has to be extracted from a poisonous object. However, if you want to extract poison from a non-poisonous object, it will naturally be difficult." Qingsu agreed with him. He said softly, "That's right. Even if it's not poisonous, it's still poisonous. How can the world distinguish between them?" The people sitting around were confused. What did he mean? They didn't understand. Yihua expressed that he didn't understand what Yihua said, but he had to pretend that he understood what Yihua said. "We'll use the same herbs to make the poison, and then use the same herbs to make the antidote. How about that?" Qingsu liked the suggestion very much. "Of course." Yihua nodded his head, then said to Meng Yao, "Prepare 10 types of the most common medicinal herbs for us, and all of them are non-poisonous." Meng Yao was looking forward to it. But before Meng Yao could do anything, someone went to pick the herbs. After all, there were herbs everywhere outside of Sky Mountain. Some were ordinary, some were precious. In the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, All 10 types of medicinal herbs were placed in front of Yihua and Qingsu. Yihua and Qingsu slightly frowned. After all, the clash between the medicinal herbs and the medicinal properties were very particular. Of course, Yihua had to be cautious. After all, the other party was Qingsu, an expert in using poison. If Qingsu were to faint after being poisoned by his subordinate, it would be a very shameful thing if this matter were to spread out. Right now, Qingsu was also very serious because he knew how formidable Yihua was. All of the 10 medicinal herbs that Yihua gave to Qingsu were non-toxic. How was he going to refine poison like this? The people who went out to serve the dishes were also very cunning. They were not ordinary people, and they also had some understanding of medicinal herbs. He knew that there were some medicinal herbs that could not be refined into poison, so he made 10 of them that could not be refined at all. I'd like to see how you're going to turn non-poisonous into poisonous. If it really works, then you guys are really good. Yihua and Qingsu were both a bit solemn. They felt that this wasn't a question that was given to the other party, but rather it was a question that was given to the two of us. No, to Yihua and Qingsu, this kind of thing was a challenge, and they had never tried it before. Refining poison was a piece of cake for the two of them. First, he needed a cauldron. As a poison refiner, Qingsu naturally had his own cauldron. This was a different cauldron. With a bang, this strange cauldron fell beside Qingsu. This was a rectangular cauldron furnace. However, most cauldron furnaces were round. This shape was very rare. However, this one was meandering like a river. When Yihua saw the cauldron that Qingsu took out, he wasn't surprised at all. It was the same cauldron that Qingsu took out. Great Spring Cauldron. This was the cauldron that Qingsu had been using all along. Yihua didn't know where Qingsu got this cauldron from. In the past, Yihua wanted to ask Qingsu to change the cauldron, but Qingsu didn't want to change the cauldron, and said that he was used to using it. Yihua didn't force Qingsu to change the cauldron. In actuality, right now, Yihua felt that this furnace was just like a barbecue grill. By placing a bit of charcoal in the middle of the furnace, it would definitely be able to start a barbecue feast. The others were also a little confused about this barbecue rack. After all, it didn't look like a furnace at all. However, when Yihua took out the furnace, everyone was shocked. The moment this furnace was taken out, a delightful fragrance wafted out. Everyone who was sitting here had eaten quite a bit of medicine, and they were already used to the fragrance. However, when they smelled this fragrance, everyone revealed a comfortable expression, and even seemed to be intoxicated. It was as if they had returned to their mother's embrace. Mengyao was also very shocked. This cauldron should be quite old. In the past, Yihua planned to give this cauldron to Qingsu, but Qingsu didn't want it, so he kept it. This cauldron was called Danxia. Its origin was unknown, and Yihua picked it up from the roadside. At that time, everyone was very shocked. Who would be able to throw such an amazing cauldron on the roadside? Isn't this person's ambition too big? However, the truth was that Yihua really picked it up from the roadside. Qingsu looked towards Danxia, and his gaze was a little strange. Why do I feel that this cauldron is very familiar, as if I have seen it somewhere before? Yihua noticed Qingsu's gaze. Of course you have seen it before. Even if I gave it to you, you wouldn't want it. With the appearance of the two cauldrons, it could be seen who was strong and who was weak. Yihua definitely had to appear strong, and he also had to look handsome and kind. Therefore, most of the people would support Yihua. That damned Baldy, he was so fierce just now. He really killed someone just because of a disagreement. I am going to curse you to lose. I am going to curse you to death. This cauldron is not bad, Qingsu said with a smile. Yihua smiled too. I will give it to you. Do you want it? I can't afford it. I am already used to using this cauldron. You should just keep your high-grade cauldron for yourself. After Qingsu finished speaking, he went into a daze. Yihua smiled but didn't say anything. Back then, Qingsu also said the same thing. I didn't expect that he still remembered it. Qingsu adjusted his state of mind. The two strange things that happened just now made me very puzzled. Just what is going on? Why did such a thing happen? Donghuang Baiji looked at the two of them. The relationship between the two of them back then, and now, it has become like this. Dong Huangqingru looked at the two of them very puzzled. She suddenly realized that the two of them actually looked like good gay friends. That fatty was throwing a tantrum, so this handsome guy is coaxing the fatty. This should be how it should be. What a good gay friend for a lifetime. Right now, the two of them were officially immersed in concocting medicine. And that was looking at the medicinal ingredients. Even weeds have appeared. Are these people serious? If these medicinal ingredients can be used to concoct poison, then this is simply invincible. Yihua deeply wrinkled his brows. To be able to make Yihua frown so deeply, it seems like we have encountered a very difficult problem. Even the poison master Qing Su was tightly wrinkling his brows right now, not daring to relax at all. In the past, Yihua and Qing Su had only exchanged pointers on how to concoct poison. In theory, Yihua was slightly better than Qing Su, but in actual combat, Qing Su was far ahead of Yihua. After all, Yihua wasn't interested in stabbing people in the back, so he didn't want to concoct poison. But right now, how is it possible to concoct poison from these medicinal ingredients in front of me? Not only Yihua was thinking like this, even Qing Su was thinking like this. If I am able to concoct poison, I will go and eat shit. Those disciples who went to gather medicinal ingredients had strange smiles on their faces. If you guys are able to concoct poison, I will go and eat all of the shit at the foot of the mountain. Just when everyone was puzzled, Yihua moved. This move of his, even Qing Su was a bit stupefied. Did this man understand? With a calm look on his face, Yihua weighed the medicinal ingredients in his hand for a bit, then placed them into the cauldron. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Is this fellow serious? A drop of sweat appeared on Qing Su's forehead. In terms of concocting poison, I have never lost before. End of this chapter. Chapter 12:28. With the combination of these medicinal ingredients, one of them will definitely be able to concoct a poison. Just which one will it be? Qing Su slightly looked towards Yihua, seemingly wanting to see which medicinal ingredient Yihua would choose. However, Yihua just happened to raise his head and look over, causing Qing Su to hurriedly lower his head. Everyone saw Yihua's expression. Seems like this fatty is not going to make it. When Donghuang Baiji saw Yihua's smile, she knew that he was bluffing. I reckon that Yihua is just randomly placing the medicinal ingredients to disturb Qing Su's judgment. The more Qing Su's mind is in a mess, the more he won't be able to concentrate. Seems like my wife knows my man the best. Yihua was indeed trying to scare Qing Su. Although Yihua was just bluffing, Yihua still had his own way of thinking. After all, how could I possibly lose to Yihua? He was especially serious about every single battle. If you didn't believe me, you could go and ask the Empress if she was serious about every single battle. Qing Su's gaze swept across the medicinal ingredients, pinching and smelling them, and finally he started. Meanwhile, Yihua's side was already starting to heat up. When concocting medicine, what is important is the heat. When the heat is right, the medicine will naturally be good. Other than the heat, the flame is also an important factor. A ball of white flame could be seen emerging from Yihua's left hand, and a ball of black flame could be seen emerging from his right hand. The black and white flames were trembling like spirits. Everyone knew what this is. Even in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, deviant flames are rare. This man actually has 2 deviant flames. He is simply a nouveau riche. No wonder he is so strong. Qing Su looked at the deviant flame in Yihua's hand and slightly wrinkled his brows. As the deviant flame in Yihua's hand burned, the furnace actually showed a state of 1 black and 1 white. Such a situation caused everyone to exclaim in admiration. Can it be done like this? Meanwhile, Qing Su also started placing the medicinal ingredients. Everyone noticed that Qing Su's actions were very standard, while Yihua's actions were rather unpracticed. From this, it could be seen who is the master. Qing Su was also a man who had an deviant flame. In his hand was a ball of blue deviant flame. Following Qing Su's shout, the blue flame began burning the barbecue grill. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, "To be honest, if you bring some barbecue grill over, I think I will be able to get a few skewers." Donghuang Baiji shook her head. This Yihua, he only wants to eat all day long. He is currently in the middle of a competition. Can't he be a bit more serious? If Yi Hua were to know of Donghuang Baiji's thoughts, he would definitely teach her a lesson. You really have long hair, but your knowledge is short. I, the Supreme Overlord, was obviously tricking him. Do you really think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am that free? Right now, Qingsu was completely ignoring Yi Hua and was concentrating on concocting the medicine. Seeing that it was useless, Yi Hua kept his mouth shut. Meng Yao sat in the middle, her brows furrowed. She had all sorts of questions about her big brother, the Emperor. After quite a while, Yi Hua put away the fire. A black and white pill appeared. Everyone felt that based on its color, it was definitely a highly toxic item. Even Donghuang Baiji felt that there was a problem with this pill. Of course, Qingsu had also seen it. His eyes gradually became solemn. Puff. Qingsu had also finished concocting the medicine. A black pill floated in the air. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Those were non-toxic medicinal ingredients, and the two of them had actually extracted poison from non-toxic medicinal ingredients. The most common poison was black in color. As it advanced, there would be some other colors in the middle of the black, but ultimately, it was still black. Even these two pills appeared. He couldn't help but admire these two geniuses. It would truly be a waste of talent to not go and concoct fake medicine. Yi Hua and Qingsu could be seen waving their right hands, and the poison that they concocted flew into each other's hands. And then, without saying a word, they swallowed the poison together. This caused everyone to be stupefied. Donghuang Baiji was stupefied. What is Yi Hua doing? Is he crazy? Meng Yao was dumbfounded. The two of them? Are they courting death? Didn't they say that they were going to compete in concocting poison? Isn't this a competition to see whose poison is higher? Why did the two of you swallow the poison without saying a word? What are the two of you doing? Everyone had a face full of astonishment towards the situation just now. I have never seen someone competing in concocting poison like this. Do you want to speak first or should I? Yi Hua asked faintly. I will speak first. Qingsu said gravely. After swallowing the poison, he felt that his heart was heavy. Taking a deep breath, Qingsu said, the poison that I concocted just now is a new type of poison. I call it OXX number 2. Yi Hua. I seem to have opened a website like this before. The knowledge that is contained within the website is very rich. It is just like an ocean of learning. I, the Supreme Overlord, have been learning for a month, and I only managed to comprehend half of the ultimate technique. Now that I am using it on my wife, I feel rather comfortable. If you want to learn techniques, come to OXX number 2. Its purpose is to make you poop, Qingsu said gravely. In actuality, even after looking at it for a long time, I still don't think that I will be able to concoct a poison. The only poison that I can concoct is probably a laxative. Without a choice, I can only brace myself and concoct a laxative. Yi Hua's expression became grave as he said gravely, this is a laxative? Of course, furthermore, this is a strong laxative. There is no antidote in these medicinal herbs, so. Qingsu had a look of you understand on his face, as if he had already seen that Yi Hua was going to poop on his pants. Yi Hua's stomach let out a grumble, and everyone heard it. I feel that I am going to take a dump soon. If I don't take a dump soon, I am going to poop on my pants. Yi Hua didn't expect that Qingsu would be so ruthless. He knew that I, the Supreme Overlord, care about my face the most. If I were to poop in front of so many people, I would truly lose all of my face. Furthermore, I indeed feel that I am going to poop soon. This bastard. Now it's your turn to speak. Qingsu was very proud of himself. Go ahead and shit. If that's the case, I will be the winner of this competition. Yi Hua said gravely. Since you are this vicious, then don't blame me for being heartless. This is not a laxative. This is Indian divine oil. Indian holy oil? Everyone was confused. Donghuang Baiji naturally knew what Indian divine oil was. This shameless fellow actually dared to say it out loud. And furthermore, could it be that Yi Hua had been using it all this time? It's very likely that I shouldn't say it out loud. This kind of thing shouldn't affect the man too much. I'll pretend that I don't know anything in the future. However, this caused the entire team to know that His Honor was using Indian divine oil. Do you know what is called black and white? You don't know? Then I'll make it simpler. Do you understand yin and yang intercourse? This is the ability of my deviant fire. Along with Yi Hua's words, everyone was astonished. So he relied on the deviant flame to apply the poison. What a cunning man. It's actually an item that combines yin and yang, damn it. I wonder how the effect will be like. Everyone looked at the same spot where Qingsu was. But Qingsu's stomach was too big, and it was completely impossible for them to see anything. The faces of all the women present became slightly red. I'm simply speechless. Qingsu was astonished. You actually gave me an aphrodisiac. End of this chapter. Chapter 1229. Same here, let's see who can endure it, or who can lose face. Yi Hua was already holding it in. No, I still have to cheat. Qingsu is a man with professional ethics, he definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Yi Hua was naturally a man with principles. He naturally wouldn't cheat in such a situation. Do I look like a man who cheats? That doesn't exist. I will only use my strength to prove everything. Thus I can hold it in. But what about you, Qingsu? Can you hold it in? This is the Indian divine oil that is made from two kinds of deviant flames. It is colorless and tasteless, the kind that you will want to eat even more after eating it. Right now, Qingsu was already sweating. After all, Qingsu only had the body of an ordinary person. How could he withstand the Indian divine oil? His face began to distort. At this moment, Qingsu turned his head and looked towards Dofusher. At this moment, Dofusher, who was already in a daze, trembled. Yi Hua sighed in his heart. Dofusher, you are really unlucky no matter where you go, sigh. Right now, Yi Hua was also feeling a bit uncomfortable. This laxative is really quite powerful, especially with the addition of deviant flames. I feel like I'm going to jump out. Qingsu wasn't much better off. Just like Yi Hua, his face was already red. Both of them knew that there was no antidote. They could either release the laxative or die from holding it in. Looking at the two's red faces, everyone exclaimed in admiration in their hearts. They can even hold it in. You two are truly the strongest kings, I'm convinced. Expert, how about we stop here? Qingsu said in a low voice. He was already at the edge. Yi Hua had a calm look on his face, but he knew in his heart that he was already at the edge, and was about to burst out. Even if I am going to die, I have to smile. Qingsu, how can we stop here? The victor hasn't even been decided yet. Yi Hua said with a smile, appearing to be very relaxed. Just that slightly red face of his seemed to have already been betrayed. Qingsu's face became distorted. Expert, how about we play something else? I know that you can't hold it in anymore. When the time comes, we will lose face together. F***K. I have already hidden it so deeply, but I was still discovered. Alright, then this sentence counts as a draw. Sure. Qingsu finally let out a breath. After finished speaking, Yi Hua disappeared. He must have definitely gone to squat in the toilet. Needless to say, when I squat in the toilet to relieve myself, that kind of pleasure is simply incomparable. Qingsu quickly took out the antidote and swallowed it. Only then did he feel much better. From this matter, it could be seen that Yi Hua and Qingsu were both upright and above-board people, so how could it be possible for them to cheat? Soon, the two of them returned to the scene with a relaxed expression. One was having a good time defecating, while the other was having a good time taking pills. Then now what do you still want to compete in? Yi Hua asked faintly. Qingsu had a dignified look on his face. This man was more powerful than he had imagined. His poison should have some effect on him. What do you want to play? Yi Hua said faintly. How about we have a dream? Dream realm? Qingsu was a little confused. Yes, a dreamlike game of hide and seek. On the other hand, Qingsu felt that this was interesting. Without any fear, Qingsu directly agreed to Qingsu's suggestion. Yi Hua was about to give Qingsu a thumbs up. You don't even need to use your brain. If I, the Supreme Overlord, wanted to plot against you, I would have succeeded very quickly. At this moment, everyone was very curious and wanted to hear what the rules were. Yi Hua smiled and did not say anything. Are you ready? Yihua asked lightly. Come. Qing Su said faintly and slowly closed his eyes. Yihua nodded his head and slowly closed his eyes. Qing Su felt that he had entered into an illusion, and he suddenly opened his eyes. The scene that appeared in front of him caused Qing Su to go into a daze. Qing Su slowly stretched out his hand. His fingers were very slender and had the appearance of a woman. Qing Su touched his own face. I'm not fat at all. What's going on? Looking at the surroundings, there was a total of 7 people standing there. Among them, there was a skeleton that was standing at the center position, and the skeleton seemed very cold and arrogant. Who designed this position? I, Qing Su, am not convinced. But why do these people look so familiar? As if I have known them before. Not far away, there was also a total of 100 plus people standing there, and they looked very aggressive. However, on my side, there is only a total of 8 people. It is obvious that I am a little lacking. But what the hell is there to be afraid of? I only have one word, and that is fight. Qing Su felt that his body was not under his control. And when he really rushed out, the first thing he felt was, isn't this too sloppy? Aren't they going to discuss the plan first? Fighting brainlessly will cause people to die. But right now, he had already rushed out. And when Qing Su saw that there was a twin-tailed girl that was hit by the skeleton, not knowing why, Qing Su felt very angry in his heart. I just want to kill all of these people in front of me. Qing Su discovered that not only was he very angry, everyone else was also very angry. That skeleton that was carrying that little girl seemed to be very sad, and this kind of sadness seemed to be transmitted to everyone. Qing Su felt that he had been infected by the skeleton, and he just wanted to fight to the death with these trash and kill them all. Qing Su saw that the number of people around him was getting lesser and lesser, and seeing them fall down just like that, Qing Su felt very uncomfortable in his heart. In the end, Qing Su saw a skeleton standing in front of him, and there were 60 plus overlords standing in front of him. Qing Su heard the skeleton saying faintly, "See you in the next life." After finished speaking, the skeleton rushed out. Looking at the corpses around him, Qing Su was confused. What is going on? Why do I feel so sad in my heart? Back then, why did Qing Su kill so many people? It was because everyone realized that they had fallen into a trap, and thus they chose to fight to protect Qing Su. Qing Su was the only attacker, but after Yihua fell down, Qing Su, who had no one to protect him, died. Therefore, this was also the reason why Qing Su wanted to create a powerful servant. Subconsciously, Qing Su did so to protect himself. Qing Su watched as his body fell down, but he was powerless to do anything. He could even see those overlords cheering and celebrating their victory. In the end, the overlords placed the corpses together and burned them with deviant fire. They were burned just like that. Qing Su suddenly heard a voice ring out, and a skeleton walked over from the side. Isn't this that skeleton from just now? Why is he here? Did he die from waiting for so long? Right now, Qing Su didn't even know if he was in reality or if he was in a dream. I am with you, Yihua said faintly, then transformed back into his human form. Qing Su looked at Yihua blankly. Who are you? Don't you have any idea who I am? These are all the memories in your mind, and you should be very clear about them. Yihua said gravely. Impossible. How can there be such things in my mind? It is definitely you. Qing Su, did you see that? Back then everyone died in battle, and I have to bear a lot of responsibility. Yihua let out a long sigh. Although it is a pity, the heavens have opened their eyes and didn't let everyone leave. Qing Su didn't say anything and looked at those overlords. Those faces seemed very familiar to me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1230. Qing Su, you are the most special existence in the team, so don't disappoint everyone. Yihua stretched out his hand and patted on Qing Su's shoulder. Qing Su still found it a bit hard to believe all of this. He looked at the man in front of him. Is what he said true or false? Follow me and give it a try. When the time comes, we will know if what I said is true or false. Yihua said indifferently. He knew that it wouldn't be easy to deal with Qing Su, so he had to use another method. Qing Su looked at the scene. This familiar feeling won't lie. Seeing that Qing Su had tacitly agreed, Yihua finally let out a sigh of relief. Of course, he didn't expect that he would be able to deal with Qing Su just by having him recall what happened back then. After exiting the dreamland, Yihua and Qing Su opened their eyes. Everyone was curious. Who would win between the two? Qing Su didn't say anything and sat in the crowd. Yihua did the same and sat in the crowd. Everyone was a little confused. What was going on? Why didn't they say something? Who won and who lost in the end? To actually not announce it, this is too suspenseful. Even Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but ask softly, Yihua, just who won? Other than myself. Do you think there is any other possibility? Yihua said softly. This Qing Su is a bit hard to deal with. Right now, I only need to dig out those precious fragments. Next up, I need even stronger evidence. If not, when this Qing Su goes crazy, I will have no choice but to deal with him. Yihua, what do you plan to do now? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Yihua said softly, one step at a time. After this is over, I will go over to the Eastern Emperor clan and take a look at the situation. You are really going over? Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. What, do you think that I am joking? I, the Supreme Overlord, have never joked around. Yihua said gravely. The words that I, the Supreme Overlord, have always been serious. Donghuang Baiji said softly. Yihua, I understand your intention, but I really don't want to cause unnecessary trouble. I also don't want to look into what happened in the past. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji was still worried that Yihua would cause the crowd to attack him again. I allow you to take back what you just said, then reorganize your words and say it one more time. Yihua said gravely. Yihua sure has a way of lecturing people. The surrounding students were all frightened to the point that they were trembling. I really don't know what to do. Donghuang Baiji said helplessly. Yihua laughed lightly. If you have a way, this seat of mine will be yours. Who cares about your seat? I'm just worried that something will happen to you. Baiji, you think too highly of those people. It's just a matter of waving their hands. After that, I want your father to get justice. Or other elders. After hearing what Yihua said, Donghuang Baiji felt very moved. Although I don't know the truth of the matter, it is truly great that Yihua has such thoughts. When the time comes, I'll have to think of a way to act cool. Yihua, you muttered. Originally, Donghuang Baiji was still very touched by Yihua's words, but she was immediately pulled back to reality. Donghuang Qingru, come here, I want to ask you a few questions. Great God, please ask. Donghuang Qingru shouted out respectfully. However, I, Donghuang Qingru, swear that if I admit defeat now, it will be a sacrifice for the future. A person can only grow while being ridiculed. If no one forces you, you wouldn't even know how strong your own ability is. Yihua asked lightly. Is there any scandal in your Eastern Emperor family? How is that possible? Our Eastern Emperor family is the benchmark. Donghuang Qingru said with a righteous look on her face. Donghuang Qingru didn't dare to say it. There are so many people here, if she were to expose it, where would the face of the Eastern Emperor family be? Yihua asked faintly. Donghuang Qingru, right now is a good opportunity for you to atone for your crimes. Don't test my patience. About that, great God, it's not that I don't want to say it, I only found out about it recently. Donghuang Qingru was also afraid. This man would beat someone up just because of a single sentence, and furthermore, he would beat someone to death. Oh. What is it? Actually, I don't know the exact details. The floor leader asked me to keep it a secret. He said that it's a big secret of the Eastern Royal Clan. Donghuang Qingru said sneakily. Looking at her, one could tell that she was talking about a secret. Right now, even Donghuang Baiji was curious as to what exactly had happened. Then let's go now. Yihua was already impatient to go and stir up some trouble. The main thing was that with Qing Su by his side, Qing Su might be able to evoke some of his bad memories. Donghuang said softly. Great God, I can't do that. I have to wait until Mount Tianshan reaches the ascendant stage before I go back. Yihua went silent for a moment, then felt that it was fine. Then, let's play for another 7 days. This time, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be able to think about how to take revenge for the Empress. That scene must have been extremely comfortable. Sure, then I will wait for another 7 days. Yihua said faintly. The person sitting next to him was puzzled. What did he mean by waiting for 7 days? What was this man trying to do? Don't tell me you're itching all over if you don't do anything for a day? Dong Huang Qingru was very scared now. If she brought the great god back to her family, she would definitely be beaten up. But if he didn't bring her along, he would be beaten up right now. Moreover, this woman was of pure bloodline. However, the level leader had said that no information could be leaked. If not, the East royal family would become a laughingstock. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. She didn't have the mood to continue. Qingsu was also very hesitant. The scene played in his mind over and over again. Furthermore, it felt more and more familiar. His figure was about to overlap with that person's. Was he really one of them? This skeleton didn't lie to me? Qingsu didn't dare to come to a conclusion, so he decided to observe the situation first. 7 days passed by very quickly. Yihua brought along Donghuang Baiji and walked around Heavenly Mountain. It was one thing for Yihua to listen to the lectures, but after listening to the lectures, Yihua felt like sleeping. Looking at these people leaving one after another, Yihua's mood was pretty good. But Wanwan didn't feel very good. Mr. Yi, why don't you not go? Great God, this lady is right. Why don't we go another day? Donghuang Qingru said hurriedly. If he really went, it would be the rhythm of the world changing. Yihua's gaze turned cold, and the latter instantly became speechless. At this moment, Meng Yao leisurely walked over and asked in a low voice, "Are we really going to the East royal family?" Yihua looked at Meng Yao and revealed out a kind smile. Yes. Do you need help? Meng Yao said lightly. This caused Yihua to go into a daze. However, he felt that this was a good thing. This meant that there was still hope for Yi Juetian, and that he didn't die. When Donghuang Qingru heard what Yihua said, she was very stupefied. You are God, Meng Yao. How can you just do whatever you want to do? Don't you have any sense of propriety at all? How can this do? This is too careless. End of this chapter. Chapter 1231. There's no need for that. I will be able to settle this matter myself. With a you understand smile on his face, Yihua stretched out his hand and patted on Meng Yao's shoulder. Towards Yihua's smile, Meng Yao naturally understood. It was naturally Yi Juetian. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. She could only softly say, "Then be careful. The Donghuang clan is not to be trifled with." Donghuang Qingru wanted to add that exalted goddess Meng Yao was right. Don't go and cause trouble. It wasn't just Donghuang Qingru. Even Wanwan wanted to say that they really shouldn't go there. After all, there was a slim chance of survival. Meng Yao, do you think I'm a pushover? You should know me very well. Yihua retracted his smile and said faintly. Meng Yao chuckled. Then I'll be going back. Yihua nodded his head, and Meng Yao disappeared from the spot. However, Donghuang Qingru and Wanwan were very confused. Why did Goddess Meng Yao seem to be so obedient? Just who was this man? The disciples of the Donghuang clan were all puzzled. All the disciples present knew that this man was going to cause trouble in their territory. According to the normal procedure, he should have tried his best to stop them, even to the extent of fighting to the death. Only then would he be able to display the demeanor of a great family. But however, right now I don't have that thought at all. I feel that they were on the same side. There was no need to fight at all. That's right, they were all on the same side. According to the head guard of the vestibule, that woman had an authentic bloodline. This was a huge matter that would shake the entire 9 prefectures and 5 seas. What are you waiting for? Let's go. It has been a very long time since I last did something. And today, I can finally do something. Thus, Yihua brought along his wife and subordinates and set off. Even though Qingsu still admitted to it, Lin Fan could feel that he was slowly changing, as though he had realized the truth. As for Battle Fusher, it's best that I don't turn back to normal right now. No, wait. This is the normal Battle Fusher. The previous one is the fake Battle Fusher. Donghuang Qingru was helpless. She opened the teleportation gate that led directly to the Eastern Emperor clan above the Azure Ocean. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji was a bit nervous. I don't know how I should face this. If everything that I said is real, in that case, his hometown should be on the other side of the portal. Dong Huang Baiji became rash. Yi Hua seemed to be able to sense Dong Huang Baiji's unusual movements, and he stretched out his hand and held onto Dong Huang Baiji's hand, giving her encouragement. With me by your side, even if the Heavenly King is here, he won't be able to touch a single hair on your head. The group of people stepped into the teleportation formation, and Yi Hua could only feel his vision turning dark. A beautiful scene appeared in front of Dong Huang Baiji. This place is truly beautiful. Even Qing Su was attracted by the scene in front of him. Everyone appeared on the first level, and the Eastern Emperor clan was on top of the rainbow clouds, ascending in a stair-like manner. Therefore, from this angle, it just so happened that one could see the Eastern Emperor clan level by level, and it was as gorgeous as a rainbow. Dong Huang Baiji felt that it was very romantic. If it was at night, it would definitely make people intoxicated. Indeed, in the Dong Huang clan, the night was the most enchanting. We await the head guard of the vestibule. The disciple who was guarding at the side shouted out respectfully, although he noticed Yi Hua and the others, because Dong Huang Qingru was the one who brought them in. He didn't say anything. Dong Huang Qingru didn't know what to say. Didn't you want to create trouble? Hurry up and create trouble. I have already made up my mind. Even the disciple who was guarding at the side was thinking the same. It doesn't matter if I die sooner or later. I might as well watch how you guys create trouble in the Eastern Emperor clan. However, after waiting for a long time, Dong Huang Qingru still didn't see Yi Hua kill them. Yi Hua was also very confused. Doesn't it hurt when I'm kneeling? Why are you looking at me? Is there something wrong with you? Dong Huang Qingru seemed to be able to understand Yi Hua's gaze and said in a low voice, "This person is here to create trouble. Call your boss out." Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were both stupefied. What is this Dong Huang Qingru trying to do? Why does she make it seem as if we are on the same side? You are someone from that side. Qing Su and Do Fusher stood at the back. The two of them were like autistic children, not saying anything and not caring about anything. Head guard of the vestibule. What do you mean by this? The disciple who was kneeling on the ground asked confusedly. Yi Hua said faintly, "Do you still not understand? Your head guard of the vestibule has already turned traitor." Dong Huang Qingru. Creating something out of nothing. This is creating something out of nothing. My Dong Huang Qingru's heart can be seen by the sun and moon. I am also loyal and devoted to the Dong Huang family. How could I possibly turn traitor? No, it should be said that I, Dong Huang Qingru, only support the original. Mere pirated goods go and die. Thus, I feel that Dong Huang Baiji is the original. If she isn't the original, then she must be a pirated one. I, Dong Huang Qingru, can only blame myself for making an error of judgment. Swish, swish, swish. All of the disciples in the surroundings drew out their swords. However, the disciples beside Yi Hua drew out their swords on reflex, a real hammer. Dong Huang Qingru felt a bit dizzy, and she really wanted to fall down. Head guard of the vestibule. You actually brought along your disciples to rebel. And you even dared to come back. What guts you have. Yi Hua said faintly, "This person's guts are indeed big. You have to call your boss over, if not, you will be killed." Dong Huang Qingru's heart was in pain. Why did I have to meet this man? Ever since I met this man, I have never had a good life. I have been humiliated by him every single day. Although it wasn't physically, it was still mentally. The disciples in the surroundings felt that what Yi Hua said was right, and two of them hurriedly went to look for the floor leader. After all, if the head guard betrayed them, they still have to call for the floor leader. This is the rule. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. I feel that this is too fast. There isn't any foreshadowing at all. It will give people a kind of unpleasant feeling. This is a little troublesome. Not long later, Dong Huang Fei, who was the floor leader, arrived. Yi Hua looked at Dong Huang Fei, and Dong Huang Fei directly looked at Yi Hua with a grave gaze. This man is very dangerous. Dong Huang Qingru. What are you doing? Dong Huang Fei shouted out gravely. Dong Huang Qingru knew that she had no chance and said respectfully, "Floor leader, This person is looking for you. After finished speaking, she even blinked her eyes. Dong Huangfei shouted out, Dong Huang Qingru, why are you blinking your eyes at me? Dong Huang Qingru. Yihua didn't pay attention to Dong Huangfei and asked faintly, Dong Huangfei, right? Who are you? Dong Huangfei asked in a low voice. For the time being he didn't explode, but he seemed to be very vigilant. Yihua pushed onto Dong Huangbaiji. Wife, it is your turn to act. Dong Huangbaiji took a deep breath, then said gravely, My name is Dong Huangbaiji. Dong Huangfei finally knew. Why did Dong Huang Qingru blink her eyes just now? Could it be that this woman is the one? Something bad has happened. Something big is going to happen. This damned Dong Huang Qingru. Why did you bring them here? We are going to die together. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.